Keeping it professional. Stop your noise. Hello, people. You'll have to excuse everything. Quick one. Where's my bins? Didn't even comb my hair. Look at the dirt. Look at the filth, just keeping it in place. So I had a welcome everyone. Loads of new subscribers recently. Viewing of the videos going up loads. Welcome to anyone. It's a privilege and a pleasure to have you here. If you are new, if this is your first time, just subscribe. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. You'll be helping me out. I'm a full-time writer and YouTuber now. So that's all my income, and it's not great. Hang on a minute. 1 second.
Hello, everyone.
That reminded me of something. We have got a guest coming on. He'll be here in a minute, of course. The Iconoclast, young Daniel. And I think Daniel's got a different take on this than I have. Now, I look at all that fuzz up there. We don't need that, do we? Let's see if we... Oh, dear. What's happening? Well, when Dan gets here, it will trim a bit. Packer, it weren't like this before, was it? What's happened?
No, like you've really there before.
Yeah, look, that's all works. So when Dan gets here, it'll trim. Anyway, one of my subscribers, I've met about 30 of them out here since I've been doing this channel. And he emailed me, he said, I'll be in your manor. Do you want to meet up? I was like, yeah. We arranged to meet. Where, what time, what day? I completely forgot about it. I don't have notifications on emails because it would just be pinging all day because I've been in business for 20 years and they still come through. And so he was rightly pissed off as well. He didn't come back like a lot of people when I let him down and sort of go, don't worry, these things happen. He was like, is it actually worth, and all this? I said, yeah, it is. I apologise. And all this lark. Anyway, hello, Dan.
Hello, sorry I'm a bit late. Apologies.
No, you're all right. Let me just finish this little intro. And then I said, yeah, it is. I said, I'd like to meet you. He said, all right, so we arranged today, 4:30. I'll give him a Google Maps link, the lot. Absolutely knackered. I was up all night writing, which I promised myself I wouldn't do because I didn't want to jeopardise meeting this geezer. Like, he's on holiday. He doesn't want to be sitting around waiting. And I've already blown him out once. And I wake up and it's like hour and a quarter after when I was meant to meet him. I slept through my alarm, everything. I just like, oh, shit. Quickly sent him an email. If you're still there, I can be there in 20 minutes. And he was like, yeah. And I honestly thought there was a chance. Well, there was a chance that I was going to turn up there and they'd go, give me a little rabbit punch, just enough to take me off my feet a bit and a bit of claret. I thought, some people might do that sort of thing, especially if he's had a couple of jars. Turned up, lovely fella. 3 hours we were gabbing, absolutely brilliant. Now, 3 hours, my missus says before I left, she's good as gold, my missus. She's helping me out, like when she realises I'm late, getting me an old dirty T-shirt ready. And she said, when you're nearly leaving, give me a call and I'll have some food waiting for you. So I look at the time, I'm like, oh shit, I've got a stream tonight. I said, love, I rang her up. I said, I'm coming home now. She went, all right. When I get home, I open the door. She's shit-faced. She's absolutely, like, she's only tiny. There's 4 or 5 of those little half beer cans in the bin. And she's like, would you love me? Please don't leave me. And I'm like, I won't. You know how it works with drunks. 2 minutes later, will you leave? Don't leave me. Please don't. Well, then go and lay down, love. Let's go and lay down. We go and lay down, but she won't lay with her head on the pillow. She's doing the other way round. And I said, look, I'll turn you around. I just want to put her to sleep. Like, literally, not figuratively. I want to actually, just. And then she, those 5 cans of beer and the chili ribs and rice went all over the bedroom floor. Anyway, if you're watching this, I won't name you, but it was excellent meeting you. Good stories, good chat, nice to speak in English for a long period of time, and I wish you well on your travels. I tell you what, people, this geezer's been everywhere. He's been travelling, backpacking as well. He does hostels, spread that money out. He's been to all different countries. He's going to about 3 or 4 more. Amazing. I respect that in someone. I respect people who do things, and he's doing it. He's 58. He's 58, and he knows more about something. I haven't even been to Laos. He says Laos an absolute anyway, I'm going to Laos at some point. Right. On X, when I advertised this stream, Dan said that he said to his audience, because Dan always brings an audience over, bless him. He said he's invented an app to stop me from shilling my novel, because apparently I shill Love in the Time of Nudie Mags on this channel quite a lot. The novel.
Fuck me, there's 2 of them. Oh no.
The novel that has had #1 hottest new release in biographical literary fiction, #1 in new releases, and 2 other top 100 categories. Get it on Amazon, get it in bookshops, but if you're a bit skint, go to your local library. They can order it. They'll type it into their little system. They'll go, yeah, that'll be here in 5 days. There you go. Right, a little bit more grifting. See that QR code above Dan's avatar? That's Buy Me a Coffee. There's a link at the bottom of the chat. You can donate there, or super chats. I don't put adverts on my videos. There's no ads on my videos or my streams, and you can put ads on live streams now. I don't do that because I think there's too many adverts in the world anyway. So they are my only forms of income on this channel. So yeah, that's all the grifting out of the way. How are you, Dan?
I'm okay. I was a bit under the weather, and I guess I still am a little bit under the weather this week, but we'll get there. We'll have a good stream. How are you two?
Is it to do with the changes in temperature you've been experiencing in the UK?
No, it's just a bug that I had. I've had it last week, and then I'm just getting over it now. It's nothing to do with the temperature. I can't stand this in the UK. Oh, it's so hot. It's this. It's that. Fucking get over it. It's not that bad.
It is a weather conversation-based nation, isn't it?
It is, and I can't stand it. I can't. You know, when they see the news reports of the red country and they make it look so severe, and
like
Mad
an
Max Fury
has
Road.
gone off.
Oh, sorry. I started this by saying I hate the weather chat, and I'm going on about it. So let me.
Well, that's what I was about. I was gonna say the same. Me and Packer have often discussed the weather. How are you, Packer? You're quiet. You're a little bit quieter than Dan. Alan, OG Scrub, the man, the king, the Hoyt to the boss of the Appalachian Mountains. Hello to you, my friend. I hope you're well, has opened the doors of the mighty grift. Thank you, Alan. I hope you're well, son. Have you seen the film, Alan? I think you might enjoy it. Let me know in the chat if you've seen the film. Packer, usual jobs. If anyone donates via Buy Me a Coffee, if you use that one, let us know in the chat, and I'll be able to see it and give you your props, which are much deserved. And you get a minute-long video now. I have to record a reply, and I do, and they're very funny and entertaining. Dan, I get the feeling that you don't like this movie, or you're not impressed with it.
Well, I mean, there's lots of layers to that, to my answer to that question. But I think, well, let's put it this way. You and I were just sending each other a few chats on WhatsApp as we were watching the film, I guess, in our different times. And I've got a feeling that you've got a vastly different opinion to me. So I'm interested. Before I talk, I want to hear what you have to say about it. So, because I think you've taken it a little bit more seriously than I have.
Well, I think the thing about any film or any cultural artifact, I didn't sit down and go, I'm going to take this seriously. I sat down and said, right, let's see what this does to me. Let's see where it takes me, you know. Let's see where. And I think there's a load of things going on. I mean, do you know anything about the director and the actor? Do you know their backstories?
Well, the director, how do you say his name? Is it Uwe Boll or Uwe Boll?
Some people say Uwe, some people say you, some people say Uwe.
Right. Well, I know him because I used to watch his frankly terrible video game adaptation films from the early 2000s, and they were, I mean, honestly, they're so terrible. But I accept him. He's a B movie director. That's kind of his shtick, and it's films that are so bad they're good, in a way. And you either enjoy them or you don't. I'm talking about his early work, not necessarily this one. So I know that. And then Army Hammer, he had a controversy a few years ago. I'm not exactly sure what came of that, if anything. But, you know, another kind of Me Too thing with him. But he was a very successful actor before then.
Yeah, he was. You're very quiet, Packer.
Yeah, nothing came of it. There was a lot of talk and controversy about things he was saying and doing, but what he said and did isn't anything that you or me, Chris, wouldn't have done, given his position of ability and reach. He ruined his own career.
He was flirting with birds. He was married, and then they decided to see if they could make some money out of it. He didn't get charged with anything, but of course it was a Me Too era. He got cancelled, and that was the end of his career. And he was on an upward. You know, he was one of the sort of top lads of Hollywood at the time. What a name, though, Army Hammer. I mean, he's made for Uwe Boll. 3 of Uwe Boll's films have been voted the 3 worst films ever made. Who's the geezer? I can't believe I can't remember his name. He's one of my heroes, which is a bit weird. But the day I've had, who made Grizzly Man and Fitzcarraldo? Another. Someone in the chat will know. Who's the crazy director? He's killed people in films and all sorts. He's also an actor. He's in one of the Reacher films as like the sort of Serbian. What's his name? Anyway, I'll get back to him. Yeah, I think he's German. Yeah, no, he is German. His family ran away to live in the north, up in the Bavarian mountains during the war. I had a mad. Anyway, he's made like about 40 films. And Werner Herzog, thank you very much. Props to Flick 0011. He's like a modern day Werner Herzog, because those video game adaptations, Dan, this might interest you if you don't know, they were tax blags. He's an independent filmmaker. He got independent investment, but they didn't need to succeed. If they succeeded, the people who invested would have got their cut of the profits, obviously. But if they failed, like they did, because they were terrible, tax write-offs. Oh, yeah, well, I might have, made this much. If people don't know what a tax write-off is, if you make a load of money, well, you have to tell the government you've made all this money. But if you lost a lot of money, you write it off against your profit. So you say, well, I did make 200 grand here, but I lost 50 grand on this fucking ridiculous movie. So it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially what it is. So I see Uwe Boll as like a modern day Werner Herzog, even though Werner Herzog is still alive. There's a 4-hour, maybe 5-hour documentary in 5 parts on Werner Herzog on YouTube. You've never seen a man more dedicated to his craft than Werner Herzog. He should have died at least 20 times. People have died making these films. In his movie Fitzcarraldo, it's a true story, they needed to carry a paddle steamer over a mountain using the technology of the time when it was done, like the 1920s. And there's no power. It's in the middle of the jungle, by the way. This isn't something that, it's not, they couldn't just bring in the cranes and the diggers or whatever, to get the old JCBs in. It's all like wooden, like people pushing wooden posts and all this. Yeah, people died. But he done it. He got this fucking like 1,000,000-ton paddle steamer over a mountain. It took him about a year to do. They had to make 2 paddle steamers, because if one of them got broke, for continuity, if one of them slipped down the mountain and fell into a million pieces, as it took about 50 people with it underneath it, they'd need another one to try it again. So he's an interesting character, Uwe Boll. Now, what makes a film good or bad? There's many things: script, acting, directing, There could be a whole load of things. But what interests me about this film, and what is still interesting me, and which is why it's kind of going wild on the internet. If you type in Citizen Vigilante, you're looking at a few pages of reviews, comments. The woke left are going absolutely mad about it. The right are sort of not quite sure. What it is timely. It's timely. It's been banned in Germany. That's done. The country where the director made it. It's banned in Germany. Why would you ban it? Now here's something really interesting. It's called Citizen Vigilante, but it was originally called The Dark Knight. And when you see the original title and the original font, which is almost identical to the Batman font, The Dark Knight, you suddenly make some connections because it's a vigilante film. It's in the title. It's like the early Clint Eastwood movies. It's like our man Dom Hoyt, Charlie Bronson, Death Wish 2, 3, 4, 5, probably on about 20 now. And a man who goes around killing or causing pain and injury, or we could just say serving out justice to people who he has been judge and juror to, that's Batman, isn't it? I know Batman says he doesn't kill people and that, but I'm sure there's been some collateral damage over his time.
Well, it depends on which Batman you see. There's a what was the Batman film a few years ago from Zack Snyder? He just had Batman actually shooting people in that, and he didn't care. So it depends on the version. Batman can do that at times,
but nonetheless, he's dishing out justice. He's decided. He's what's the word I'm looking for? He's taken the law out of the equation, and I think that's what Uwe Boll has. That's why deliberately, Warner Brothers were never going to let him call it The Dark Knight. They were never going to let him call it with that white font with a slight blue outline. But he knew the point was made. You want to talk about vigilantes? Well, a failing Hollywood has knocked out countless movies, including all the DCU films. They're people who are above the law, dishing out justice because they think they know better. Look at Wolverine, just goes around sticking his adamantium claws through people's heads because he thinks he knows better. Maybe he does. That's up for debate. So before you've even watched the movie, there's all this stuff swimming around. Let's have a look at the trailer for people who haven't watched it so you can get an idea of it, and then we'll actually get into some debate. Let me just remember how to do this. Here we go. I haven't seen this version of the trailer. What I just wanted to say, just in case this version... Oh, no, man, I've given away the game. My apothecary is having a row with reality in that corner.
Oh, wow, it's not your real background. I'm shocked.
No.
Shocking.
Could you not tell by my ready brick outline? But... what was I going to say just quickly about it? Yeah, the film starts with a quote about what's been happening in Western Europe. And you know what I'm talking about. It starts off with just a quote about this has happened. And the film ends with a quote, with a dedication to all the people who have suffered because of I can't remember it exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of those quotes is in this trailer, so who knows? Here we go, let's have a look at it.
The truth is this. You are all being used.
The vigilante citizen is delivering a brand of justice that some believe the authorities have failed to provide, targeting both criminals and those in power accused of allowing crime to flourish unchecked.
There's been a lot said about me, so I thought you should hear directly from me. I'm here to help you take that control back.
State, court, police.
See, you think that they've failed you, but they haven't. No, they only exist to control you. Do you want justice?
Yes.
Let's get some fresh blood. You walk down the street and you get stabbed or robbed.
He's a real hero.
We need more guys like this.
What does your country do? Nothing.
Our current system is failing to protect our citizens.
He's like the real deal.
He's playing with us.
What if everything they ever taught you was utter nonsense? We can change history.
That was interestingly, that reminded me at the end. So, Dan, why don't you go for it? Packer hasn't seen it, by the way. So,
okay.
Oh man, I'm not feeling that. I am feeling that. Dan, go for it. What do you make of it? Talk about it.
Well, I'll just talk about it from a film perspective, just on its own for a second, because like I said before, I've seen some of his early work. I think there was a film he made called House of the Dead, which was based on an arcade zombie shooting game, right, back in the day.
One of the tax write-offs.
Yes, but you've explained that quite well, because when I was watching, I must have been a teenager when I saw it. But instead of using visual effects in that film, he literally just used footage from the video game, right? So you'd be watching a scene of real actors shooting at something, and then the reverse shot would just be a video game zombie taken straight from the arcade game. So I think there's definitely a huge element of tongue-in-cheek with his work. And again, tax write-offs, he clearly was making something for a very specific reason and not really caring about the outcome. So he's an interesting guy. This film, I mean, I told you on chat, I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing in maybe places.
So, Dan, this interested me. Why? Why did you laugh? Why did you find it hilarious? I didn't laugh at it. It wasn't.
Well, Chris, you like to go on about your writing and all of this. Did you not find the writing very, very on the nose and clumsy, and kind of one note and just, wow, that's subtle. That dialogue's really. It was just so on the nose and not clever. And I found that really funny. Like every monologue that the main character was giving was just so. It's almost like you were reading it from someone's Twitter account. It was so direct, and it made me laugh. And his expression throughout the entire film doesn't change. He's psychotic. I mean, he kills innocent people as well. I think you might have forgotten about that.
He guns down about 80-year-old Bill, doesn't he?
Well, not only the police. I mean, in his eyes, the police aren't innocent. I'm talking about. There's a scene where he kidnaps a judge, and he's driving along a road, and he's talking about the people are just sheep. They follow the laws, even if they're stupid and don't make sense. And he drives on the other side of the road into oncoming traffic, and waits for the other car coming the other direction to swerve, fly off into a field, and explodes. That's just an innocent person in a car. And then he drives back and he's like, see, I told you. Now they're dead. And it's like, oh, fucking hell. Great.
But what an interesting point made bluntly. He says to the judge, I can't remember his exact line, but he's pointing out that people will do things. You know, it's suicidal empathy, essentially. He's in the wrong, but they'll put their life at risk to let them continue being in the wrong.
Yeah, the point is there, obviously. It's just the way it was delivered, I found it to be very funny. Because it wasn't subtle.
I think Arnie Hammer does that. Oi, come back. I think Arnie Hammer does that. Thank you, Bradley, and I'm sure you wouldn't. I can imagine he's a good 9 out of 10 for female, and people such as yourself, eye candy. Nice one, Brad, for the donation. There's a lot for me. I found it interesting because he is a guerrilla filmmaker. He's an independent filmmaker, and this time It's like when Werner Herzog went serious with Grizzly Man. He got hold of something actually serious. You know, Herzog made films, something like, there's one called, Herzog's made about 100 movies in his life. And one of them's just loads of dwarves. He just got them pissed and filmed them wrecking things. And that's the film. It's called something like Dwarves Were Small in the Beginning Too. It's called something like that. You know, just nuts. But I'll give you an example of one of the things that I thought was so clever and very subtle, and nuanced isn't the word, subtle. I'll stick with subtle, no need to double up. There's a scene in it where he goes, see, this is the other thing. He's a brothel owner. He's a brothel owner. Right? He's a degenerate. He owns a brothel. He runs a brothel. And here's what I loved about that scene, apart from the obvious, right?
Right.
Hollywood movies, and again, Hollywood's going down the pan. Hollywood movies use hot women. That's what they do. They get hot birds in, and blokes. They get them in so that you watch it. And when there's a lewd scene or a sensual scene, they'll show you a little bit of leg. They'll show you a side of tit. And they're doing that because humans respond to that. And Uwe Boll said, all right, well, if we're going to do that, let's do it properly. There's a scene, people, where he's walking down the corridor of the brothel, and there's about 8 or 9 whores in this corridor. They're all hot as hell, right? But instead of just a little bit of leg, a little bit of side of tit, there's bits where it's just on their breasts for about 3 seconds, which is a long time in film. It's just, here's some tits. You like tits?
Yeah.
And then the next bit, it goes from the girl's feet, her shoes, up her legs, up her body, slowly to her head. It's like 2 or 3 minutes of the start of a porn film. And I think, he's not an idiot, this bloke. I think he said, this is what Hollywood does. I'm just not pretending. I'm going to show. I'm going to give the men and lesbians something that they like, and he just does. It doesn't add to the plot. He takes that whore into the room, but it exposes Hollywood's sort of double standards. Oh, you can't exploit women. Well, why are all your women hot then? And if they're not hot, they're funny characters, aren't they? They're the big fat one who goes, hey, wait for me, I'm still eating cakes. But all the leads are like, hot birds. And I
would say, Chris, just on that, before you continue, that scene, and it goes on and on, actually, we'll talk about it, but casting Armie Hammer in that scenario, very intentional, I think, as well. Very intentional.
And there's a lot of that. I'll stop here because I've got you on as a guest to hear your views. But he does it again with the backstory of it. What's his name? Sanders. I mean, it ain't even important, is it? Could you remember his name?
I think it is
Sanders.
Yeah.
But it's not important. I found that out afterwards, researching for this stream. You don't even know the bloke's name. You hear it maybe. I didn't know it. Having watched the film and having watched it quite closely, there's a backstory where he goes back to his office. This weird office, and the sort of director of the office goes into his room and he goes, "Oh, I'll let you into your office. Sorry, your dad's office." And Arnie Hammer sort of goes, "I never knew my father. He dropped me off at boarding school." And the director, the sort of manager's like, "I'm sorry to hear that." He's like, "It's all right. I've made my peace with it." And this is his backstory. And it's about a minute. And that's it. That's all you hear about him. And it's not, it's always interpretation. It's not to give you a backstory. It's to show you that these things are just tropes. Who needs a backstory? We know what the backstory is. He feels like the people have been let down by the government and the judiciary. He's taken the law into his own hands, and he's going to go and give his own form of justice. So that weird. I mean, the film doesn't lose anything by taking that bit out? It's so boring. Nothing happens. The acting is terrible, and I think he knew that, and I think he thought, yeah, because that's what Hollywood does. But Hollywood pads out 20, 30 minutes if you were to stick them all together, in a film. And I think there's loads of stuff going on in the movie like that.
It is very ironic in many places, and that's why I found it so funny. I thought it does seem that the director was. I mean, it's interesting because people on our side of the political aisle, for example, they've latched onto this because there's certain scenes in the film that relate to what we talk about. But in reality, most of the film isn't really about that. That's at the end, in one scene in particular where that really comes to the front. But that brothel scene, let's just go back to that, right? So you're right, he's walking down this corridor, and again, the camera is focusing on every single woman and just, their body parts and what they're wearing. And it's very matter of fact, and it's not nuanced. It is what it is. And then he gets into the room.
It's very erotic. Dan, would you agree it's erotic?
Yeah, and it's intentionally done that way for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's over the top because all the women are like supermodel brothel workers. You know what I mean?
That bit again.
And so he gets in the room with this one, and he starts going at it with it, and it's as explicit as you can be in a regular film, I would say. But it goes on. The 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, it's still happening, and then Armie Hammer's character says, "Wait, stop!" Pushes her off, and then he looks at the ceiling and he says, "That's black mold on the wall."
See, there's a little bit of like.
Have you reported this to the building manager? This is black mold. Do not, when you let your clients have a shower, do you open the window or not? Because this is not acceptable. The black mold on the wall. And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. What's the matter to you?" And he's like, "Because I own the building. I'm the landlord. So call the fucking manager and get this sorted out." Anyway, let's continue and finish.
Isn't there, because this is important, isn't there a bit where she says, "Oh, so I shouldn't pay you?" And he says, "No, you done your job.
Yeah.
You get paid."
He gave her extra as well.
Yeah, and I think that again, it's another doff of an ironic doff of the cap to Hollywood, because
he's been distracted by something so mundane in this highly eroticized environment. And he just can't get over it. He's like, "Hang on, fucking get off me. What's this? What is this up on the ceiling?" And I found the film it was full of moments like this. It's so funny.
Yeah. Terrible storytelling, but like I say, I don't think Uwe Boll thought that was a great. Oh, this is really making this movie better. I thought he thought, yeah, this is showing Hollywood what it's about. This is showing the film. It is a bit meta. The film itself, its whole existence, and all that backstory scene I just spoke about. It's like, why is that scene there? What does it add to this? This is just padding. This is just bad storytelling.
It's bad exposition.
Yeah,
he's even looking at photographs on the shelf as he's explaining his backstory, and he picks up his military certificate, and it's like, it couldn't be more obvious. It's just, but yeah, it's very, very funny in that regard.
Doesn't he say something like? And his acting isn't that bad, but the script is awful. And he sort of says something like, I enjoyed my time in the army, or something like that. And it's just like, what is this? There was that the horse scene where it's just like, this is what Hollywood does. That's what I thought that was. Now here, I'm jumping a bit here. But several times, I'd say more than 3, I couldn't be asked to. I am going to watch the whole film again, though, because I think that's an interesting second look. I think more than 3 times, though. People, if you haven't seen it, people, there's loads of cutaways to social media, TikTok essentially. It doesn't say that. but little sort of, vertical screens, people going, this is what we need. I love him. I don't want the police to catch him. And
I
then it'll
want to
be
marry
someone
him.
else. Yeah,
Someone
I want to
actually says,
marry
I
him.
want to marry this guy. Right.
And there's loads of them, and he's not watching them. It's just part of the sort of collage way of filmmaking and storytelling. But where was I going to go from that? Oh yeah, more than 3 or 4 times, he does this thing where he's obviously putting out his own content, and it's meant to be like pixelated. I mean, a blind person would know it's him. You can hear it's his voice. It's every and I don't think that really matters. You're meant to assume that it's effective. It's not like, oh, maybe they're going to be able to. I mean, there was that classic case of that paedophile in the early 2000s who had loads of photos of him doing his disgusting things.
Oh,
and
Mr.
he
Swirl.
used the swirl function on Photoshop to swirl his face. Now, the thing about that is that's just an algorithm. The swirl function is an algorithm. So they got some coders in and said,
Reverse
can
it.
you run some reverse algorithms? And it just turned it back round, and it was the geezer. And thankfully, he got nicked, and he's rotting away in a room with dry rot somewhere. But when he's talking to camera, there's a consistent theme. You've got to do this. I'm doing it so that you do it. And that, I think that's really daring. I think that's probably the straw that broke the camel's back. It's banned in Germany. I think it will get banned in more countries. I think that's inevitable. But that's a call to action. When I wouldn't be surprised if, well, I wouldn't be surprised because the media are arseholes, but people will be soon saying, inspired by Citizen Vigilante. But he does say it. He says, look, if you don't do this, no one will. And when I watched those bits, I felt a bit sort of, whoa, this is a bit on top.
That was the bit that was, I think, the only bit of the film that I thought, oh, this is why it's banned in Germany, for example, because, spoiler alert, there is, I think that the biggest violent scene in the film is near the end, where he finds the family of, this gang rapist kid. Him and his mates gang raped a girl. So he finds these kids, and they're Muslim people. And long story short, he executes every single one of them, like brutally, doesn't he? There's no cinema there. There's no cinematic kind of romance there. He's just shooting these people, killing them in the house. And I thought, yeah, that's probably, people won't like that, but it's what you said, Chris, the quote of, I'm doing this so you can do this. That's the bit that pushes it over the edge. That's why the German government would have banned it or refused to rate the film so it can't get distributed. Because that's like, all right, yeah, you're actually encouraging people to do this. That's what the message is. Yeah, and straight up.
And you've got to ask the question, is that the character making that request, or is that the director making that request? Do you know what I mean? What frame are we taking that bit of exposition from? Is it Sanders saying, I'm only doing this so that you need to do it, or is that Uwe Boll saying it? Because it's always already both.
Well, it's the director speaking through the character, isn't it? But you know what? The character himself, the lead, you tell me if you disagree with this, but when I'm watching him go about his business, he's not a racist guy. He's not a political guy, really. I mean, there's a scene where he's in the office with that guy that you talked about, and the manager says to him, not the German government, just whatever government of the country they're in. They don't actually specify which country it is. The government wants to use lots of our buildings because he owns lots of units in housing. They want to use it for social housing for migrants. And Armie Hammer says, well, they've just got to pay for it. So he's not against that. He's not against lending his property out for immigrants. He just wants to get paid. He doesn't want it to be free. He doesn't want to be taken. He's like, no, they've got to pay for it. That's
It's
it.
another one of those weird sort of backstory, sort of character building that didn't change anything.
He's a multi-millionaire, huge landlord who owns thousands of commercial and social housing properties in whatever this European city is.
Did you get the feeling he was a slum landlord?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
We-
not a good person by any stretch.
Yeah, that's a. Go on, sorry.
So, well, I mean, the brothel is one thing because he owns that building, and then he outright says, yeah, they can have the properties for all the migrants they're bringing in, but they have to pay me. They're not getting them for free.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have any political leanings in that regard. He just doesn't like it when people don't get tried for raping teenagers. Like, he hates that.
Justice is his thing, isn't it? There's two main points in the film, if you haven't seen it. He goes to this woman in hospital and she's all like neck braced up. She's been through hell. And he says to her, something like, what those animals did to you, again and again. He said, do you feel like you got justice? And it's a question. It's not rhetorical. He's asking her, do you feel like you got justice? And she says, no. And he says, all right. And then he gives it to her in what he considers to be justice. And there's a really interesting bit a bit later, because there's not a lot of callbacks. There's not a lot of beats, really. There's a bit later where one of the old Bill, the main, is a good actor, actually. Weird that he turned up. Costa, I can't remember his name. But he turns up there and he wears very similar clothes to Sanders. And she says to him, oh, your colleague has already spoken to me. And he's like, no one's come in here. And he sort of, the copper puts two and two together and thinks, oh, okay, I kind of get this. And then he says, what did he look like? And she lies, doesn't she?
Yeah. Because she knows that he's going to stop him from doing the justice that she wants him to.
Yeah. And so she lies to the police because the police are part of the judiciary and they didn't give her justice. They got let out because they say that the judge said they didn't assimilate properly and they didn't know the rules and the values of this country.
Which, by the way, that's true. That's true, by the way. So this is why the film is fascinating, and to me, I said it's funny. I'm not laughing at the issues, but I like the execution. It makes me laugh. But the film touches on things that sound so preposterous, but have actually happened. Yeah, so, like the gang rapists, for example, who were let off the hook because they're coming from war zones and they just didn't understand that this wasn't allowed in this country. They gang raped a teenager and like, yeah, but they're troubled lads. Just let them off. They didn't know any better. That happens all the time. There was a news story about that recently in this country where that happened.
And he says it. The judge that he kills ruthlessly after jacking him up with smack. There's a cutaway to him doing his talk outside prison, and he says to one of his voice to cameras pixelated. He says they pull this trick all the time. They make the offenders out to be the victims. They've come from war-torn countries. They've got problems. These people don't need locking up. They need helping. And then he goes round that bloke's house, doesn't he? And the daughter's there, and she's been the victim of one of these crimes. And the man's like, "What? Who are you? Another fucking journalist? I don't want any." He says, "No, I'm not." He says, "I just want to know, do you think you got justice?" And the old man don't want to know. And you can understand that. He's probably just like had enough of it all. And the daughter, 13, 14, standing on the stairs, she just says, "Wait." And she says, "No, I didn't get justice." And then right at the end of the film, when he takes them all out, all the kids that did what they did to her,
and the family,
she's literally sitting on the edge of the seat, and that's I thought that was clever. She's not just, she's on the edge of the seat and she's looking at it, and you can tell she's like, fucking great, you fuckers. She's happy. She feels like she's been vindicated, and it's just that locked off shot. The father just, he's sort of aware of her behaviour, and she's like, "Oh, well, that's how it should be.
But you
That's
can't
how
say it
it
out
should
loud.
be."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, as a viewer who's had to watch this stuff going on for decades now, there's, I, I thought about whether I'd say this, but I think it's important to, and I'd like to know what the chat feel. I watched that and I was like, yeah, I'm sick of these fuckers just getting away with it. I'm sick of it. And I felt it worked. That scene worked because I felt what she felt. I felt that sort of sense of justice.
Yeah, I agree, because up until that point, up until the scene where he finds those people who have done this crime, and he basically eliminates all of them, up until that point, the film for me, like I said, I was having a great time. It was like a good bad movie, and I really enjoyed it. The dialogue, and even the dialogue in that scene is bad. I mean, the writing's just bad, but I still enjoyed it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted out of this, actually. Not to make myself sound like a psycho, but that's what I thought the entire film was going to be. That's what I thought the entire film was going to be, and it actually isn't. It's just that last 10 minutes. The rest of it is fucking all over the place. Well, I mean, in terms of like that talking point of, oh, this is a right-wing anti-migrant film, which I don't think it is. I think that's a small bit at the end. I think the rest of the film is more about law and justice and people and the public not being represented properly by their politicians. And the anti-migrant stuff is a very small part of that, I think, at the end of the film. It's touched on, but not as explicitly as that.
Come on, Dan. The opening scene is a woman and her kid in a supermarket, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, she's getting killed, or he's getting killed.
Oh, I forgot about that. The knife at the very beginning.
The opening scene, and then what do you get? An African with a knife behind his back walks past her, slits her throat. That's the opening scene, and you're like,
I don't know how I forgot about that one. I guess I just had such a good time watching the rest of the film.
Yeah, it's an insane film. But I also think it is about film. Anglo's dropped a 10-bit in. He says, "Hello, Chris Packer. Welcome back, Dan. Hello, folks. Hello, Anglo. Hope you're well, son. Thank you very much." There's a couple. You said that last scene wasn't well written, and I'm kind of with you. I think the acting isn't good throughout. The script isn't great, but I think there's something about film there. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's worked. I mean, this small independent film is just taking over. It's gone viral, as the kids say. But there's a couple of really important points in that bit. When you say he kills their family too, let's not forget the daughter says, white girls they deserve it. They're slags. They wear miniskirts.
She didn't help herself, did she?
Well,
it's like, love, he's pointing a gun at your head. You might want to shut your trap.
Well, this is what people are saying about what's happened in England. Like it might be the men, but the families kept their mouths shut. They knew it. They knew it was going on. That's already come out. There's evidence in Lowe's report. That's why I said it's timely. In Lowe's, Rupert Lowe's report that came out a few days ago, I think. Yeah. He says, families, whole communities know because it's part of how they live. And at that last scene, the father says, listen, he says he's just a child. He said, where we come from, it's just been war. And he's seen horrible things. He's seen hideous things. And then Arnie Hammer says something that I've never thought about. I've never thought about it. And it's really interesting. He says to him, yeah, but that's not what I think. He said, I don't think the good people come out of those wars. I think the bad people come out of those wars. And I've never considered that. You hear about these people coming over from Syria and Afghanistan or whatever, and they've been in wars and all that, and they've made their way to England. And I feel naive for this. But we always assume it's the victims, the people hiding in their cellars from the bombing.
Well, we're told that.
What about if it's actually the drug lords, the crime lords, the people who can afford to get out, get their family halfway around the world? What if 80, these aren't numbers I know of, but what if 80-90% of the immigrants were actually the people that were doing all the torture and the killing and the maiming, and they're the people that are filling up Western Europe? And that was a really good point. And he says it to him. He says, I don't think. He says, I think you're the wrong. I can't remember his exact line. It's something like the wrong people came here.
I think
And
it was a play. When I heard that, I thought that's a play on words of what Trump said about they're not sending their best. You can remember that speech he did all these years ago? That's what I was reminded of. It's like, I don't think we're getting the good people from your countries. I think we're getting the bad people. And then he goes on, that's where the writing, that's an interesting point, but then the writing goes a bit clumsy and says, you people with your archaic ideology thinking women can't walk down the street in like very Facebook, I would say.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, that I found it entertaining in that regard. But that scene in particular is probably the most controversial scene because it's bookended by him on camera saying, I'm doing this so you can go and do this. Those two things together are, I think that's why this film is getting the reputation that it's getting. Other than that, it's really funny.
Is it any... You're sticking by your humorous... I mean, I do see the... thank you again, Anglo. Much appreciated. I see why it's... I see that there's the humor for me was just the filmmaking, like that weird, like you said, that little bit of exposition of his backstory. That's it. It's like,
yeah.
Whoa. And as he walks out, they're all old people, aren't they? And he says something like, what's he say? It smells
like a nursing home in here.
That's it. It smells like a nursing home in here. Get some fresh blood. And just walks out.
So why would he insult these people who work for him for no reason, just because they're a bit old? He's like, fucking hell, it stinks of piss in here. That's essentially what he said.
Yeah, it smells of wet carpets. But again, I think the point there, I might be reading too much into it again, but I think the point there is, he's not a good guy, because that's what Hollywood does. That's what Hollywood done with Death Wish. That's what Hollywood done. They're not. Don't support him. He's not a nice bloke. But it's humorously not a nice bloke. You don't care. These old people smell. Sack them, please. And you're like, how do you read that? Beside, I mean, when he jumps up and down on those geezers' hands in the park,
those teenagers' hands, these 15-year-old kids, yeah,
and then snaps their wrists. He doesn't hold back, does he? It's not like he doesn't tread on their hands. He jumps up and down on them until they're. Well, and so go on.
Well, that scene in particular. So there's a scene early in the film where he's on a bus. And these three teenagers, and they're not migrant teenagers, by the way. They're a very multicultural group of friends. There's a white girl, a white boy, and then a black guy. And they're three friends. They're together.
Hang on. I have to interrupt there because I rewound, like the old days.
Okay.
I watched that a few times because they have a different accent to everyone else in the movie. I think they're French. And they're not French because one of them's African, but they speak in a French accent. They're not German, that's for sure. So it's fucking confusing. But it's confusing,
but Chris, this film doesn't actually have a setting other than Europe. It's not set in a particular country. It never says where it's set. And where it's filmed, I'm thinking this is somewhere in Eastern Europe, maybe Hungary, just the way the buildings are, and the accents are all over the place. The police detective.
It was Croatia.
Well, okay, there you go.
Hang on, Packer. Packer, was it filmed in Croatia or is it set in Croatia? You're muted, but I read your lips.
Yeah, it was filmed in Croatia. It wasn't particularly set anywhere, but it was filmed in Croatia.
Right.
Well, at the beginning, it shows you it looks like an Eastern Bloc sort of nasty country, and then it just comes up Europe, fills the screen, doesn't it? And that's the start of the film.
The point is, the accents from loads of different people are all over the place. They're not tied to one place. Like, you know, a German accent and a French accent, you can differentiate them, but you know, all the characters are speaking their own accents. The police chief, for example, is very Eastern European in his delivery. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe we're reading too much into that, but the point is, these kids, they're not migrants. So again, the immigration thing doesn't factor in here necessarily.
Hang on, how is an African, a black man with an afro, not a migrant? And that's not rhetorical, I'm asking you.
No. I mean, if you ask me that, I would have a different answer. But in the context of the film and the main character, he doesn't see him that way.
Right, okay.
Because the character isn't political in a sense. He's not racially conscious in that way. He's just a guy. Anyway, so these three kids are on the bus. They refuse to pay their fare. So he pays the fare for them. And then he sits down and gives them this humorous lecture about...
Yeah, but he pays the fare for them. I don't want anyone who hasn't seen it to misunderstand this. He doesn't pay the fare for them out of generosity. Like, oh, you're a bit skint. It's like he's got a job. He's going somewhere. And he says, I've got somewhere to be. And you're holding this bus up. And they're just like, fuck off. And so he just gives the bus driver the money. Right. So,
and then he gives the kids a speech about... You know, if you go into a store and you steal a banana and you don't pay for it, that causes prices to go up for everybody, and it's unfair. That's this big thing.
Hang on. I think we should look at that speech because it's interesting. It's a well-made point.
Well, go on, then you expand on that. I was just trying to set the scene here.
No, I know, and I'll let it go back to you. But what he says is important. He says, if 10% of people don't pay, the prices go up 10% and everyone else has to pay for you. And I think that's really, I thought that was a good point, well made. Very basic economics, but that is what happens. When you're letting people, like they are in America, do Walmart for, if it's under $1,000, you can't nick them. Well, Walmart gets that money back by putting the prices up for the people who are abiding the law.
Yeah.
And he makes that point. So sorry, carry on. I just thought that was important.
He makes that point, and as an audience member, you understand what he's saying. The kids in the film don't have any fucking clue what he's talking about because why would they? They don't care. They flip him off. They leave. He runs into them later on in the film in the park. He tases one of them in the neck, then smacks the other one to the ground. The girl runs off. And then when they're lying on the ground, he says, hey, remember me from the bus? I told you this would come back to bite you. And then he jumps on their wrists and breaks their wrists, and their bones are sticking out of their wrists. Then he just walks off like casual as can be. It's like, well, okay, I guess he made his point. That was a nice...
Hang on, there's something else that happens on the bus because he goes and sits next to the white fella. And after he gives his economics 101 speech, the bloke puts his hand in his pocket as if to maybe get out a weapon. And Sanders then gets out a shooter, doesn't he, and puts it in his ribs. And he says, this is the luckiest day of your life, and you don't even know it because he's got somewhere to go. So,
the thing is, even in that moment, it was in the first 15 minutes of the film, I would say, even in that moment, I'm thinking, oh God, please shoot him. I just want to see some, you know what I mean? And that's, maybe that reflects badly on me, but I was thinking these little arseholes, just shoot him, Well, so it's tapping into something in the viewer that we're probably all feeling if we live in the West, and we see all these things happening. And even the smallest act of petulance or unfairness in public, you just get so enraged about it and you think, fucking hell, I wish this could just be sorted out.
you know that type of behavior, and you know that it doesn't stop. They're going to do that somewhere else and somewhere else, and they do. And there's the kid, the victim in that scene in the park. He's like, just, you can take my bag, just give me my phone, just give me my phone. And they're just giving him an hiding out for no reason at all. And so, again, he gives him his form of justice. I just want to go back to something you said, Dan, about race or ethnicity or whatever. So you don't think he's... this is a tricky one to put forth. Do you not think this film is about immigration?
I think it's a heavy theme of the film, but I don't think the main character or the director is thinking through an, let's just say, ethno-nationalism lens. I don't think that's what they're thinking about. I don't think that main character, if he was in a room with a black guy in the film, would think of him as necessarily an alien to the culture.
Do you think Uwe Boll would have made this film if all the people he dished out justice to were native to that sort of, nameless country?
No, definitely not. And I don't think he would make this film if everyone that he gave justice to was not a native to that country, because he kills loads of police in the film. They're not migrants. Two of those kids are white.
This sounds strange, but he does warn them.
He does.
Says, I know you're doing your job, but if you keep going, I will kill you all.
Right, but he knows that they have to do their job because it's their job, and he's wanted for acts of vigilantism. So he knows he's going to have to kill them, and he wants to.
I thought that was the weakest part of the film, to be honest.
It was just like action for action's sake. It was.
You're not going to send any amount of troops into a room that's got a bulletproof box with a couple of automatic weapons, probably 50 cows, sticking out of a couple of holes.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I'll tell you what, though, it was the best people on fire I've seen in a movie ever. And I mean that. Usually in a movie, when a geezer's on fire, there's an explosion or something, it's the usual thing. He's too big because he's got 5 layers of flame-proof clothing on, and he always sort of does that, and you've got your 8 seconds before they have to put him out. And it's the same in every film. It's like the walking man on fire. It's always that, always. But in that one, if you watch it again, they're on fire. They're blue flames. They're not like they're sort of as safe as possible, like a little bit of lighter fluid. They look like they're on fire. It's fucking weird film, because the next shot, when there's a couple of, it looks like someone's lit a match and put it on his knee. There's like there's 2 of them with like these tiny little fires coming off them. And then it cuts to like loads of brains hanging. There's like a line of brains before his head. And you're like, okay.
I do appreciate they call them squibs. When someone gets shot, it like literally explodes from their body. And that used to be action films in the 80s and 90s used to do that all the time. And then they just digitized it all, or they didn't do it at all in films. So I appreciate in this one, when someone gets shot, there's blood flying all over the place, and it's practical effect. It's not some bullshit digital insert. So, from that perspective, again, you can get some enjoyment from this. Absolutely.
When that woman at the start gets her throat cut, that's got to be about 6 liters of claret. That it's not.
Yeah, it was graphic for sure.
It's like just keeps coming, and the little kid's like.
I think the film, Chris. I mean, we're talking about the film itself here. Again, the reason why we want to do this stream is because the reaction to the film is probably the most interesting part of it. Because, again, most people who are having an opinion on this, either on the left or the right, will probably not actually watch the film. They'll just have an opinion of it because that's the way people are now. They'll say, oh, it's been banned in Germany. Army Hammer's like a cannibal rapist or something. At least that's what the headlines told me. And he kills Muslims in it. Oh my God, it's the worst thing that's ever been created. We need to boycott it and all this other stuff. And similarly, on the right, people are like, oh, this sounds great. Wow, wonderful.
I think people would probably enjoy it. Let me do a couple of super chats. Let me know in the chat if you've bought me a coffee and Packer fill me in. We've done Anglos, nice one, Anglo. 42. I thought you'd fallen out with me. I'd prepared. I see Emma in the chat the other day. I can't remember if I actually said it. Have I upset you, 42, or have you just been busy? Thanks for the Ayrton. That's lovely. Their home country is not safe because the good people won and are in power. They spent years murdering the. So you're talking about the one at the end. Okay, so let's read that in that context. Their own country is not safe because the good people won are in power. They spent years murdering the good people. That's why they can't go back and had the resources to get out.
I think he's onto something there because I don't know if you saw this news story recently, Chris, but the EU were having a private meeting with members of the Taliban from Afghanistan. And reports are suggesting that the goal of that meeting is for the EU to organize remigration of Afghans back to Afghanistan, under the Taliban's wishes, right? So in that regard, the Taliban probably has a lot of beef with these people because we were told that the Afghans that were brought to the West were instrumental in helping Western military forces in Afghanistan at the time. So, depending on who runs the country, these people might be enemies or friends to these various power sources. So I think 42's right here. The people that are in Europe now, a lot of them maybe can't go back because they are considered traitors or they've betrayed the nation.
I think 42 is taking the piss. I think he's taking the piss. I think he's deliberately said something that doesn't make sense.
All right. Well, I thought it was actually a good point because of that recent story, because that's what I read. And
yeah, there is a correlation there for sure. 42, can you clear that up in the chat, mate? Packer, can you look out, see what 42 says? Nice one, 42. Lovely to see you here. Anglo's dropped another Ayrton. Dave's Waffle House. So if people don't know, Dave is a scrub, great scrub. Thanks me for motivating him to make the best YouTube channel. I've said it many times. It's the best channel on YouTube. Gets about 30, 40 viewers. It's excellent. It's stoner comedy from start to finish. But it's in no way contrived because the geezer Dave is just a stay high. So, and he has duck races and he can't string a sentence together because he's too stoned. And he's got all these weird speech impediments and he just goes, brilliant. It's brilliant.
I'll have to check this out. I've never heard of it.
Well, unfortunately, it's usually on after I've streamed and that's like, half 2 in the morning. I catch him when I can though, but I don't say anything because
he'll be on at 8:30 tonight, Dan.
There you go. 8:30 UK time.
There's a rumour that he will be on with me, 42 and Sensum tomorrow night on 42 on Saturday night on 42's channel.
Oh, that's just a rumour. We'll see. We'll see if that happens.
You told me he wanted to come on here, and I've invited him about 10 times.
He thinks you'll psychologically tear him to bits, and he's scared of you. Either that, or he's just going to wimp into a complete fanboy.
Oh, bless him! I just want to talk to him. When I was in his chat, and I said something, and he 5-minute speech about how much he loves this channel and that's why he does YouTube, and I was like, oh, what a lovely bloke, come on my channel. When you told me that you went, he'd love that, and he hasn't loved it yet. Okay, so Anglo, Dave's Waffle House has it right, Chris. Right, this isn't me saying this, people, this is in quotes. These fuckers are stuck on islands with us, not the other way round. The sooner it kicks off, the better. When the Saxon began to hate, But I'll tell you what, Anglo, nice one on that. Hoyt. Do you know Kai Maros? Kai Maros is a Norwegian political theorist. He's been on this channel, which is hard because he's nervous, and I think he might drink a lot, which is all right. But he did come on. I don't think it was live. Do you remember that, Packer? He came on, and then I think, I don't know. But there's a speech, Anglo, you might want to look out for. If you search Kai Morris, it's Kai, Kai, and then, as it sounds, MURROS. There's a speech he gave in London about 8 years ago. And it's rousing, man. The way he talks about the Anglo-Saxon. He says, you fucking with the wrong people. But he's a political theorist, so he doesn't say you're fucking with the wrong people, but that's what's implied. And he talks about animals. He talks about rats. He says when they're trapped, when there's nothing, when there's no other way out, that's when they're at the most dangerous. And his whole thing is, in a way, there's a sort of a crossover with what Gavin Bobby's saying, but in a Bobby sees that their own behaviour's they're gonna end up living in their own shit essentially, because no one's going to go and fix their plumbing or their windows, or because they don't get paid and their van wheels get nicked and all their kit gets stolen. So they'll end up just these little balkanised shanties essentially. But Kai Morris has almost to a T predicted the whole last 8 years, what was going to happen. He's written a couple of books. There's loads of other stuff of him online, but I think you might like that, Anglo, because that's his sort of thing. I obviously, as I said earlier, just watching this film, there's a bit of me thinking, yes, you cannot put a young girl through that and then let those people off because they haven't managed to adapt to our value system. That's not how the law works. I mean, you lot know what I think about so-called mental illness. I mean, people get off murder using the insanity plea. They get a psychiatrist in, the defence get the psychiatrist in, and the psychiatrist says, and they weren't mad. They're not mad now, and they weren't mad before.
Clarified, Chris.
What's that, mate?
42 has clarified what he was saying. They claim asylum.
All right, hang on. We'll get there. We'll get there. And but the psychiatrist that the defence has paid for and obviously talked to says, by the DSM-5, the psychiatrist's book of lies, he was insane at the time of the murder, and loads of people have got off murdering people because they were insane apparently when they committed the murder. And this is the nation. These are the kind of nations we live in. Imagine I mean, let's let's put it in context. Imagine I was taking 20 ounces of crack from London to Totnes, and I got caught. And my defence said to the judge, see, the thing is about Chris, because things happened to him when he was young, he doesn't quite understand cause and effect. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes if someone asks him to do something, he just thinks it's a nice favour. And so that's why he done it. Are you going to let me off for that? It's mad. It's madness. The reason laws are written. That's the phrase, written into law. You don't get off it because you come from somewhere where they've got different laws. Once you step in those borders, you are. You're a subject of that nation, and whatever you do, those laws, you're part of that system. And right, and let's find. Thank you, Anglo. Thank you, 42, and thank you, Anglo, again. Let's find 42's comment. Lovely to have over 100 people here, people. Right, is it in the chat? Where is it? I've seen that one. Spanish, was that your donation? The very generous donation I got on Buy Me a Coffee. I made you a video. I said it might be you. If you don't want to say, don't say. But it didn't say whose name it was, so I didn't know who to thank. Is it this one?
Yes.
Right. They claim asylum on the basis their home country is not safe for them, which is true, because they're the losing side that terrorised the country. Yeah, exactly. That was the point you were saying. So when in this movie he says to him, "Nah, the wrong people came. They weren't the victims. They were the people that terrorised the country, went round committing these crimes, trying to, get a lot of money together, get a lot of power together." And then when the good guys cleaned up, they were like, "We've got to get out of here because of our war crimes, because of our murders, our sexual assaults, all that." And they're the ones that get out. And they're the ones who've got the filthy lucre to get out because they made money without working, so to speak. Yeah, I thought that's what you're getting at.
But there's no guarantee that even if they could go back to a friendly country, they would do so, because look at the Syrian situation. It was Assad for a long time, and people were running away from Assad because Assad was not this fundamentalist Muslim dictator. He was what's the word? Begins with an S. When you're not religious, you don't have a religious state. What's the word?
Secular.
Yeah, he was a secular leader, and so there's lots of civil war going on. When they ousted Assad, and Syria now, as far as I know, has a fundamentalist Islamic regime in charge. You remember all those scenes across Europe when people were celebrating this? Yes, Assad's gone. I don't think these people have left and gone back. I don't know if they've bothered to do that. I think they've just stuck around.
And the idea was they were going back. That was what Merkel originally said. We will give you shelter and that. And then when things have calmed down. No, of course they haven't.
Which is why that story I told you just before about when 42 said that, and I said, "Oh yeah, that reminds me of that Taliban story from the other day." The Taliban want these people back because the Taliban are not fans of them. They're like, "No, you're coming back because you betrayed us before. We're going to get you back here."
And that's fair enough, because they broke laws. They broke Taliban law in their country. Essentially, to them, they're criminals on the run. We do it in Interpol, don't we?
They're traitors.
They're traitors. There you go. And we'd do that. If there were traitors here or people who committed treason and they fucked off to Afghanistan, we'd be like, "No, you've got to come back here and face justice." Well, you'd like to think we would. But,
yeah, in an ideal world, sure.
Keir Starmer, just give him a massage. So it is interesting. We'll go for about another 15 minutes. I'll try and keep these to an hour and a half these days. Summaries.
Can I ask you a question before we get into summaries, Chris?
Sure, of course you can.
So we've gone through the film. We've both enjoyed it for different reasons. We both think it's timely. It doesn't matter what the quality of the film is. It is timely, and it is a pressing subject. What do you think the reaction would be if a film that touched on these issues was made, but a serious film with a competent crew, well written, well directed, serious in nature? Or do you not think it would ever get off the ground because of the subject matter?
That's why I was surprised by you saying you laughed at it, or whatever you said. I can't remember if it's humorous or something, because I think all of that is part of it. I don't think Uwe Boll is an idiot. I think that that horse scene, that's when I realised he understands film. He understands Hollywood. He understands it. And that's him. I just thought he's exposing it. Because he's not doing anything that Hollywood doesn't do. He's just making it blatant. And the backstory bit added nothing to the movie, like most backstories in most Hollywood films don't. But we'll put it in there. And I actually think that this is the. I think it's a bit of genius, to be honest with you, because I think you can only polish a movie like this so much until you polish the voice away and you polish the message away. You know, if you go too far and you're making Batman. You go too far and you're making Dirty Harry.
I think you're right about
Dirty
that.
Harry was a vigilante. He was a copper. That fuck the court system. That doesn't work. I'm just going to get my Magnum out and fill them full of lead.
I think
That's
you're right about that.
And everyone watched it and were like, wicked, yeah. Shoot the fucker.
I agree with your take about the director, because I think he's very aware of his public reputation. And I think he uses that, knowing that maybe people have a level of disrespect for him and don't take him seriously as a filmmaker, that he will then do things like this because it gets the message out there and he's still saying something and he's using the medium and he can actually kind of get away with it, whereas other people wouldn't be able to do so. So from that perspective, I think it's really interesting.
How are you going to get... I mean, to make a film in the way you're suggesting, perhaps, you're going to be looking at least 50, 60 mil funding, and that's still low budget.
Yeah, I don't think it would happen. I think it's impossible.
But yeah, exactly, because first thing you've got to do is get known actors in it. Who? They're going to read that script and be like, the agent ain't even giving that to any of their people. That
Mel
apparently...
Gibson.
Well, there's a good example, actually, because Mel's sort of controversial movies, the actual controversy is, the media have put it onto Mel Gibson. Mm-hmm. Like, I haven't seen The Passion of the Christ, but I've heard that Mel Gibson's an arsehole. Whereas this film, when I started hearing about it, like... People, by the way, Dan put on X, he said, I'm going on Dangerfield stream, anything, because me and Dan couldn't come up with something to discuss and we didn't just want to chat. He said, anyone got any ideas? And a few people put something in, and I think it's a lady, it's a female, and I think so, said, how about this new film, Citizen Vigilante? And I was just there, and I just Googled it. Bang, pages and pages, and the AI summary was amazing. Citizen Vigilante is a new movie that's gone viral, causing controversies. It's being banned. There's talk of further judicial goings on. I was like, how do you make that happen? Incredible. And
I would never have heard about it unless I'd seen that story of Germany banning it. I would never have heard about it.
That's the Streisand effect, isn't it? That's perfect.
And of course, it's Germany. I mean, they're trying to ban the most popular political party at the minute because they're popular. So,
that's the end of democracy, isn't it? We're talking about the AfD, right?
Yeah. Germany just... No, you can't vote for them, even if that's what you want. You can't do it.
How do other parties change the law so that you can't vote for a competing political party? That's not democracy.
Democracy is a very loose term when it comes to people like this. They define what it is minute by minute. No, because they'll say the AfD is undemocratic.
I don't think it
works.
No,
I don't support democracy.
I support dictatorships. I think the UK, I think England should be a dictatorship. Someone who actually cares about the nation and the people, and who's got a cabinet that care about the nation and people. And if anyone shows signs of not and are bad actors, they're off by. And
I said this as well to someone in my life recently. I didn't say dictatorship. I said an absolute monarchy system, not with Charles. I mean, just the system, right? And someone said to me, "Well, what if you get a bad king?" Go on.
Hang on,
what?
can we just stop? And you just referred to the King of England by his first name like he was your mate. I don't mean Charles. I don't know why that tickled me.
But nobody respects Charles. That's why I'm first naming him here. Like, nobody cares about him. But anyway, but their response to that was, well, what if you get a bad king? And I'm like, well, what if you get successive terrible democratic governments, you know, that we've had? It's just, I know it's probably never going to happen, but the point remains that democracy isn't actually working the way that people were sold it should. And I think it was a con from the start, actually.
Do you know that the word democracy doesn't appear in the Founding Fathers' constitution? They didn't want a democracy. That's why it's a constitutional republic.
Well, a democracy falls apart as soon as the demographics side in one area, because then you just vote via group, and then that's that. And then you're done.
Well, most people do. White people don't vote in their self-interest.
Which is why democracy is usually a white country thing.
Yeah, because it can actually work.
Yeah,
it can actually work if people are,
aware of that.
That won't vote. It's nuts. A lot of people I've seen in the chat, and I've heard it before, and you've heard it before. Back in the day, I mean, like Sargon's an FNAT now. He doesn't say it, but when you're supporting low, you kind of are. John, I've seen this today on X that Rupert Lowe said he doesn't dislike multiculturalism. He just wants assimilation. But I think there's a certain amount of playing the game when you're at that stage in building a movement.
I don't know. I'm not affiliated with Restore, but I think there is, at least from my perspective, there looks like a disconnect between what Lowe says in interviews, for example, and then what the younger guys in the party who are running the social media believe in. There seems to be a bit of a gap there. But I looked at Restore as a vehicle to getting these ideas into these. Imagine this. I mean, Restore. If you're, I don't know, one of the guys, I can't remember the names, but the reason you use Rupert Lowe is because he's independently wealthy. He's an elected MP. He can get you in the room with various other people. And I think that's the point of it. It's not like, Rupert Lowe is an old guy. He's, 70 years old? He's a boomer. No disrespect, but he's not going to have these views. At least he's not like Farage, where he's actively attempted to attack and destroy other groups that express these opinions. But, I think there is a big gap between messaging, for sure.
Yeah. Well, messaging and signaling, they talk about in marketing and connotation and denotation. I just think, it's going to be small steps. Unfortunately, I mean, people of a certain political bent, I never like saying it, but it works. We know what we want, but I doubt you're going to get that like at the next election. I think this is a generational thing. And yet,
well, what does Gavin Bobby always tell you whenever you speak to him? What does he say?
Well, it's the same thing all the time. They're gonna end up knee deep in their own shit and fuck off because
we're going to collapse our way out of it. That's what he says.
That's it. That's the line.
And I think I don't think anyone can really disagree with that.
Well, essentially, the money's going to run out, and as people have been saying, they're not here for the weather and the food. So once those benefits dry up, once those houses dry up, I mean, they're already talking about voluntary deportations just because people are seeing the sort of political temperature change. They're realizing that it's becoming more hostile. The cat's out the bag. This could be a bad place to be if you're of a particular ethnicity, religion, or hold certain values.
Well, again, and I don't believe it when people say, "Oh, you can't do anything." Farage was quoted a while ago saying, "No, you can't deport all these people." I'm thinking, why not? You can bring them here. You can't get rid of them. What is that? That doesn't make sense. let's just say that Farage is PM, hypothetically. Why can't he talk to the Taliban and do what the EU are doing? Say, hey, we've got all these Afghans that our party member, Robert Jenrick, brought in, by the way. Hi, Rob. Thanks for that. Take them back, please. We'll cut you a nice little deal. That's step one. Should be easily done. There's a few 100,000 gone. It's all about making deals for people.
What about, what is it, El Salvador? I always mix it up with the other one. But Bailu, yeah, he just locked them all up. It went from one of the most dangerous places in the world where you couldn't go out of your house into, I think it's now the safest place in the Northern Hemisphere. And that
imagine punishing criminals, right?
Yeah. He gave the police, he said to the police, he said, what do you need? And I'll supply it. And that's not just like weaponry, it's like time, investigative, what's the word when you're allowed to do something? Permissions,
powers, right,
all that sort of stuff. The police and the military told him, and he got it through because he had he's the top dog in their parliament, and he just got put them all in prison. And I'm sure if you said to people, well, we're going to, hang on, I can't go down that road. But my point is, he radically transformed that nation in a matter of months. And there's a lot of people who are like, there's a lovely clip. I think he was invited to some EU thing, and they had him on stage, and some British journalist said to him, yeah, but there's people that are saying, and he laughed at him. He laughed at the journalist, and he said, look, this is my country. We've got our own problems, and I worked out how to deal with it, and I've dealt with it. He said, it would appear your country's got a lot of problems at the moment, and you don't seem to be dealing with them. So why do you come here and try and, he didn't say call me out, I'm paraphrasing, but why call me out when I have solved the problems of our nation, and you haven't even started. And
it's almost
this is the thing that always concerns me. I see it in the chat, not just here. I see it in a lot of places, and I've also confessed to it myself when watching that film. Those feelings I had. A lot of people want front lines. I see a video from, I think it was Belfast. 42 will be able to tell me if it wasn't. With loads of Belfast people, balaclavas, dressed in black, marching around the streets, people coming out of houses to join them, all in black. Just this is our territory. This is where we live. This isn't where you live. And that's kind of started. That is something. That is a change. I mean, I know they've been doing it for years in another context. And so they've got the organisation, they've got the communication channels. But I worry that, something's got to happen or it's over. Something's got to happen. I read some statistics today, and there's something like New York is 30% white.
Oh, yeah, that's not a surprise. Yeah.
The Big Apple, it's a beacon of the free world. It's America, the American dream. New York, so good they named it twice. It's a fucking hellhole at the moment, apparently.
Well, the United States in general, was it only 50-something% white? The exact.
They reckon it's just below that now. Mark Dice said it's just below that now.
Well,
I've got mates, they've got young kids, Dan, and I said to them the other week, they don't like me talking about it. We fell out years ago, but they've grown. Trust your lying eyes a little bit more, lads. They're slightly more open to it. And I said to one of them, who inherited 5 million from his girlfriend Nan,
Jesus,
and bought this fucking beautiful house with its own aqueduct, its own lake, and it's all very lovely. And he drives this big truck, and they've got 2 kids now, not replacement rates. And I said to him, I said, all that money you've got in that lovely house, I said, your kids, when they're teenagers, are going to be are likely to be a minority. And if you think that the people in charge then, they're going to extend to you anything like the generosity, the kindness, and the slack that has been cut to the white natives, you're dreaming. I said, why don't you get out of there? Because they'll take your money. They're going to take your money as well. You're a target. And he went. He said this to me before. He said, just stay off Facebook. He said, just stay off
Oh,
it.
come on. Fuck.
And that's what he said to me years ago as well. The weird thing is, I haven't even got a Facebook account. I mean, I've got a business one, but I don't work for that business anymore. And I thought it's so insulting. It's so insulting because it's, this isn't something I come up with yesterday. And that is likely to happen. And my concern is if it does become some kind of civil war, I think people have this idea that, and maybe this would happen, maybe people would start going home. But a lot of our guests will give their life for the orders of their holy book. And part of it is to take over the world with that message. Are they going to fuck off home? Are they going to go, I've had enough of all this? Or is it going to go on for years and years and years?
I think initially you're looking at a South Africa style situation. I didn't tell you this, Chris, but I've got some new neighbors, and they're a couple from South Africa, a white couple. And I was chatting with them the other day, and I've met South Africans here before, and I didn't want to probe them, but I kind of knew what the answer would be. And I said, so why are you here? Blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, we just had to leave because of, rising crime reasons and stuff. And they told me that
they went to England.
Well, I think they've got like family connections here, I guess, and it was just an easy thing for them. But they were telling me about in their neighborhood in South. I think they're from Cape Town, and they were saying that people, like the majority of houses on their street, were broken into in the middle of the night. People, like families, were getting held captive, and women getting raped by these gangs that just rove around. And they said, "No, we just." Can't stay there, so they took any out they could. I don't blame them, and they're not the first South African people I've ever met to tell me this. Really,
thank you. 42. Go on, Dan.
Well, I'm just saying. I think the future of England, if nothing changes, is going to be a South Africa style society. Unfortunately,
do you not foresee perhaps like Bobby's thing, like a sort of balkanization? Just this is where these people live. I mean, which is what we've kind of got at the moment.
We've kind of got it, but then you're expecting them not to encroach on other areas, and I don't think they wouldn't do that. I think they would try and expand.
Well, it's because they come from countries that don't. There are certain. I have to be a bit careful. There are certain ideas that aren't just a religion. A religion is a part of that idea, and it hasn't succeeded. I've got a friend, he's a Muslim. I used to live next to him in Soho, and he said to me, do you know why Muslims have so many wives? I said, I don't know, something about the Quran. He said, no. He said there's not enough men to go around because they've all died at war because Muslims are always fighting each other. And he said, so unless a woman is prepared to put up with sharing a man with 3 or 4 other women, they likely won't get one. Certainly higher status men anyway.
I don't think the Mormons use that same excuse, can they? But
have you been watching this Bricks and Minifigs, Dan?
No, I don't know what that is. No, it's about Mormons.
If you've got the time, you're in for an absolute treat. You don't know what it is, you've really tuned out of the internet, man.
Packer looked shocked. His face there was one of astonishment. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. What does it say it again? Bricks and what?
Let me just thank 42 officially because it's Luca. Thank you, 42. I bet you loved seeing it as well, didn't you? It looked wicked. The video I saw, amazing. Nice one, mate. All right, there's so much to tell you, Dan. I'll try and give you the I mean, there's 30 pages of it on YouTube of people, and Asmongold, like not small channels, it's big. Coffeezilla finally got involved. Do you know who these people are?
Yeah,
Civil
I know
rights,
who they
yeah.
are. I don't know how I haven't heard of this. I think sometimes I become a hermit for a week or two and I miss something.
Mate, it is the most bizarre story because it also involves right where do you start? A geezer who's dying decided to sell his lifelong Star Wars Lego collection.
All right, I didn't expect it to start off like this. Okay,
No. And so
All
he
right,
took
let's
it
see.
to a franchise. There's a big company in America called Bricks, which is Lego essentially, and Minifigs, minifigures. You know, like
Oh, I
action
see.
figures.
All right.
So it's a franchise. So you know, you work there, you give the owners a bit, and you take a bit. They took it there, and then in the middle of the night, some people turned up and said, "You're not having this franchise anymore. You're going." So they left, and then the Legos disappeared, and so some sort of not very small channel, but I think it was only like 50, 60,000 or something. Reckless Ben, he decided to look into it and get this geezer's money because he's dying and he wants it for, I don't know if he needs it for his treatment or to give to his kids or whatever. He goes up there, he beat them in court. He took them to court and beat them. He goes up there, he gets arrested about 10 times. Would that be an exaggeration, Packer? He gets pulled over for not stopping at a stoplight, even though the police camera shows you he stopped. Not even a rolling stop. He stops. It's a lie. He gets pulled over because he's got heroin in the vehicle. They
Right.
search him for 3 hours. Nothing. You know, it's a. These two kids, they're clean as you like. They're like, I don't take any drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke. What? And they just every time they try and do something, they get arrested. And you're like, this can't be right. What's going on here? Now it's in Utah. And then you find out that all the coppers are Mormons.
Salt Lake
The-
City.
The people who own Bricks and Minifigs are Mormons. They donate a load of money to that old bill.
Oh,
then,
Jesus.
then Reckless Ben asks for, you know, what is it when you can ask the police for all their tapes? And they give them to him, but it's all redacted. Like, not all of it, but stuff they don't want people to hear is redacted. But someone, somehow, originally they said they were hacked, but there was 2 weird mistakes at the police station and they all got out and onto the internet. And the police are literally just going, just make something up, just fucking go. And then they now at the minute there's a temporary restraining order on them, but that looks like that on Reckless Ben. I think you're probably best off watching Coffeezilla's video because he got in late and so he's got most of the story. But it's bizarre.
So the Mormons are like a criminal enterprise in Utah.
Well, I respect them in as much as they look out for each other. They're a
of course.
community. And the church has always done that. You know, I heard Andrew Wilson talking about this the other week. I've said it on this channel countless times since, but it works. He says this is the problem with secular humanism and other similar attempts to organise society. No one's got your back. He says as a Christian and part of a church, so if you regularly attend a church and you're part of that community, the other people in that church, if they're believers and they have a faith in Jesus Christ and God, they've got a duty to look out for you and to have your back. And that's why those communities work. And that's why for centuries they held communities together and kept people out. Because they've actually got a moral duty to look out for each other. You know, if you're going through problems, they'll come round your house. They'll help you out. If you need a few quid, they might be able to help you out. If your car gets wrecked, someone can lend you a car to get to work, all that sort of stuff. And so in a way, I respect that the Mormons do that, but I draw a line at the law because that affects people on the outside potentially negatively. At one point, they sued this reckless Ben for 1.3 million. And then there was another point where he might have been going to prison or something for defamation. It's like he's like this. He's a bit of a gumbo, to be honest with you. He's not the brightest. He didn't have an attorney when he went to court the second time. He's just there going, I just make YouTube videos. I don't know, I don't know. And you're like, get a fucking attorney, man. Well, shut your mouth. But it just keeps going on and on and on.
He's a little tiny bit like Napoleon Dynamite somewhere in there, isn't he?
Brilliant. That's a great call. Yeah, even his Barnet. Vincent, did you get my message on Telegram? On the off chance you didn't, check it out. I don't know how to use Telegram, and anyway, Vincent knows because they'll see it. Vincent dropped £2 in. Very interesting stream. Nice one, Vinny. Anglo's dropped another air and centre in. Thank you, Anglo. Another excellent stream, Chris. Keep going for a while, please. Are you up for a little bit longer, Dan?
Yeah, of course. Just let me have a slash and I'll be back and I'll be all good.
All right, Picard.
All right.
Yeah, all right. We can do that. I just thought people... I mean, we've kind of got to the end of the film. Have you seen it, Anglo? Or have you got it racked up to watch as soon as this stream ends? Let's have a look at some chats while Dan's gone. Let's get some up on the screen. Thank you, Anglo, though. Appreciated. Yeah, we'll do a bit longer. People in the chat, if you've seen the movie, tell me what you thought now so that I can have a look at what, check the temperature of the chat and that movie. So I'm looking for them. Hello, Winstoner. Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about Burnham, to be honest with you. And this is the young lady that suggested that we talk about Citizen Vigilante. I think it was you, right? And I told you, I said, I think so. We did. Thank you very much. I'm over the moon. As soon as I saw it, I was just like, what the fuck is this? Have you been here for the duration of this stream? She has. Okay, nice one, Packer. Well, let's see what people are saying. Hello, Ams. Hello, Sophist, who was very proud of young Barclay and his wee mate the other day. Very dapper indeed. Very dapper. You know what? You want to know where he got those threads from? Yeah, this bloke here. Yes. I had him and Harry. Remember Harry? I had them come down my house. When I moved out here, I thought my $4,000 bespoke woolen suits weren't going to be worn in this temperature. They come down. Barclay took a $2,000 pair of boots off me. Guide. And they took all their suits off me. But Harry got back to me the other day. Harry wrote to me the other day. I said, do you wear that nice gangster burgundy with the white chalk stripes? He says, to be honest with you, it don't fit me. I mean, it was made bespoke for me. And Harry's like tiny. I'm 6'2". And I said to him, yeah, you don't want to, if it don't fit you, you don't want to wear a suit like that. You look like you're a fancy dress. It's burgundy. You know, you get pinstripe suits or chalk stripe. They're about 5mm lines. It's proper Al Capone. I give him all my handmade shirts. Fucking hell. That was distressing. But fair play to Barclay. He wears the first suit I ever had made. But he doesn't have the bottle to do the trousers and the waistcoat. I even give him a 400 quid scarf that's got my initials in it. Anyway, let's see. You're back, Dan?
Yeah, I'm back.
I don't
It's a
think...
bit too hot to be wearing a three-piece suit, to be fair to him.
Well, that's why I gave them all away, because it certainly was out here. But very sad.
Not to get back to the weather and global warming and net zero.
Global war. I mean, net zero. What is that? It's just another stitch up.
Oh, Chris, did I know you've seen it, but you didn't reply. Your favorite guy, Gary Economics.
I did see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you sent it to me.
I've sent it to you. Yeah. Apparently, the Andy Burnham and the Labour Party are hitting him up to be an advisor. I bet that really wound you up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's economically illiterate. That Gary fella, and there's this weird thing where he keeps saying, "I'll be all right. I'll make a few million."
Oh, well,
but we should redistribute wealth, and he always says it. I'll make millions, but we should redistribute wealth, and just his understanding of how tax works. Blogs in the chat, if you're still here, that's what I was looking for. Freedom of information, yeah. Reckless Ben asked for the tapes, and all the audio was redacted. But then someone managed to get them. It's such a good story, Dan. I think you'll enjoy it. You'll be watching, going, "What the fuck?" Watch the coffees. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I agree. That I think that's what the UK really needs, and I actually see it going slightly in that direction. I think families are realising that there's no community where they live, and then it only takes one person who keeps in contact via WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, whatever, to start going to the church, because someone says, "Oh no, the church is wicked, man. They get a coach and we all go down to Margate, and they take the kids and they're all safe as houses, and it don't cost anything. It's just they take it out of the pot at the end of the month." And that because we done this as kids. When we were kids, there was a church in Wilmington, and they used to come to our school, and they were proper geeks back in the day. And we're here because we do barbecues, rock climbing, motorbike riding, and we're all like, "No shit." And they're like, "You don't have to have any money. We do like contributions, but if you can't contribute, you're welcome as welcome as anyone." And about 20 of us used to go to the church, and you have to go to the church. So you're sitting in there thinking, "What is all this nonsense?" And then the kids split off into their own rooms, and he's going, "Right, let's talk about the parable of the Good Samaritan." And we're all thinking, "Where's the motorbikes you were talking about?"
Yeah.
But they materialised. It was like, right, next Friday, you need to get your parents to fill like a consent form, basically. And it also told the parents, these are Christians, they're good people. They're multiple phone numbers of adults who would be there. So if you needed to get hold of them or your kids, where it was, the people that run the place, their phone numbers, when they'd be picked up, when they'd be dropped off. You better than most businesses. This bit of paper was. I took it home. My mum just signed it. Man, go on, be all right. Because not because she was negligent, but because in those days, if the church is saying they're going to take you out, all right. And then we went out like nice, like little 80cc scramblers. They had about 15 of them. We were burning around this track. Amazing. They went rock climbing down, some people might know it, in Tunbridge. I think it's called Bowles Rocks, and they had professional climbing teachers. You're 11 years old and you're like sort of 80 foot up this rock, and you're doing all this lark. It's brilliant. And so I think what's slightly happening now, because we are social creatures, yes, the internet provides a certain amount of community. We've got one here, and it's lovely. But it only takes one person in a street to start church and to mention it to someone else. And no, we went to the church barbecue yesterday. They hire out so and so, so and so. Yeah, everyone turns up with a few steaks, a few sausages, and you only need to hear that 4 or 5 times to think this sounds wicked. And it's not like the old days where it's just the weirdos. You get there and it's people with good jobs, good businesses, strong families, and also the way that Christianity is taught these days. They've sort of upped their game a little bit. They don't have some boring bloke up there. And I'm not talking about the clergy, by the way. I'm talking about local churches.
Yeah.
Where it's just a bit more realistic, and they want to get people in their churches. How do you do it? Well, you start off by making it worth their while. It's basic marketing.
Yeah,
Now,
come along to this event. Why should I? Because of this, and this. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Day one, right? Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, but I don't believe in God. You don't have to.
No. I've thought about this before, not necessarily in the church aspect, but with private members clubs. I think we're going to see a big return to that type of thing. They were unfashionable for a long time because they were seen as... Sorry, go on.
I interrupted you.
Well, I know what you're going to say, I think. But they were seen as unfashionable for a long time. People were told they're unfashionable because it's like, oh, they're misogynistic. It's only these people allowed in. It's exclusionary, all this type of thing. But look at in my town, there's a big Freemasons center, right? And all these people make deals with each other on the local level, and they're always at the same functions. They're at each other's weddings, they're at christenings, they're at all these types of things, and they're getting ahead in life, And I'm looking at them thinking, well, I don't really want to be a Freemason. I don't even really know what that is. Do I need to have sex with a sheep? I don't know. What's the initiation process? No, but they've got this thing.
It's a community.
Yeah,
it's a community where they realise you're more powerful as a group.
Exactly. So the people with vested interest, business interests, they come together. They give each other sweetheart deals for scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type of thing. And I do think that type of environment is what we're going to see more of, actually, in this country specifically.
I think that is not only necessary, but is the along with people who've come here and broken the law, they've got to go. That's got to happen. Just clear the rubbish out straight away. They've broken the law. We take our own citizens and we lock them up. Well, they're not our own citizens. They go home. You can't come here and break the law. Go fuck off. It's not how it works. I mean, you try doing that in their country. You go to Afghanistan and do something like that. See what happens to you. You're not going to get a cushy cell with a television and fucking 3 meals a day. No. You're going to imagine going to a prison in Afghanistan. Fuck's sake. But that's why these secular humanists try and do it, didn't they? They have these organisations, but with the church, it's that moral duty. It's not just a question of, oh, so and so's having a spot of bother, shall we help him? Part of your belief system is that you have to help him. They've got your back. And you can turn up there in bits with a smack habit or an alcoholic, and you've had an affair. You can do anything, and they're like, all right, you've made some mistakes. All right, yeah, we've all done it. How can we help you? What can we do? We're certainly here for you. And they'll have someone around your house every night, or you'll be invited around their houses every night, have dinner with their family, because they've got that moral duty, and it is that. I mean, Andrew Wilson, I know he's a bit, but he makes a lot of sense as well. He talks about Christian ethics, and most of his arguments come down to that, because when he's arguing with people, I see you nod your head then, Packer. Did you watch a bit of Andrew Wilson?
Yeah, no, he bases all his morals on Christianity, which is how he justifies it, and therefore, if you're not,
but what he says to people, he says to people things like, is this a bad thing? And then they'll go, yeah, of course. And he says, why? and then it's always because they don't like it. And he says, "Oh, so it's just your preference. That's what you want to base society on, your preference." And he says, "Whereas I've got Christian ethics. They're listed. They're there, and we stick to them. Whereas you, it's just what you don't like and what you do like." And they have to admit that because it's the truth. And then he says, "So what was wrong with the Austrian painter? Because it was only, it's just what he liked. It's just what he liked. It was his preference." And then he says, "So what makes you any different from him? What makes you any different from Mussolini? You're a fascist." And they're like, "No, it ain't." They go, "Well, you base your worldview on preference. You might as well tell me what ice cream you like." It's a compelling argument.
Isn't that the majority of people, though? I mean, I know you're saying that he has this, but like that's the majority of humanity.
But it's the majority of humanity. It's the majority of humanity who haven't considered it. That people think they've got a moral background, when actually in Europe we have where our society is based on Christian ethics. That's why it worked. That's why we become the biggest empire in the world, because it wasn't perfect. Humans aren't perfect. But as societies, it functioned better than any other. A little island, in Western Europe. And then you've got these other nations that are just in bits. They're like medieval. Their culture's medieval.
I always like it when I see if you're on the internet, you stumble across these short videos, and it's always some lefty moron saying, "What is British culture? There's nothing. What have we ever done? Blah blah blah." And it's like what kind of position is that? We, on one hand, have zero influence on the world, that we have no culture and no identity, yet we're the most hated, detestable people that have ever existed at the same time.
Yeah.
Choose one.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't exist together, can they?
Yeah. It's its own contradiction.
We ran 2/3 of the world with no personality.
Louder.
I said we ran 2/3 of the world with no personality.
Yeah.
So
what did David Foster Wallace say about two fish? The old story about the fish asking the other one, "What is water?" And everyone goes, "They ain't got a fucking clue." That's British English culture. Asking
it's everywhere.
Asking what is water?
There's a do you know Andy Serkis?
I do not, but hang on. I will have Andy Serkis, but
okay.
You don't know Andrew Wilson. You haven't heard of Bricks and Minifigs. What was the other one, Packer?
No, I think I know who Andrew Wilson is now. I can see his face, but I don't watch him. But I know who he is now. He's always on Piers Morgan for some fucking reason.
He's on there because he's brilliant. He's on there because he's a bit dislikable, but even his missus, he's got a missus, and one of their kids died, and on the whatever podcast, leftists bring it up just to dig her out. They don't, not as part of an argument. They literally say you can't even look after your kids. Imagine.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and also
his kid died, and someone said you can't look after your kids.
Oh, more than one person said it. That is a regular thing levelled at Andrew Wilson and his wife.
Well, it shouldn't surprise me. I mean, they are detestable people.
She was married twice before. They've got 5 kids between them, right? And they're all old. They're like in their 20s now, the kids. But she didn't leave the relationships. She tried to make it work, but she was getting beaten and all that sort of shit. And so in the end, she had to get out of there. And the leftists bring it up in debates about, as soon as they're losing, they're like, "Well, you think you're better than me?" And, "What? Didn't say that. I just said your idea doesn't make sense." Well, I might be on OnlyFans, but at least I haven't been married 3 times. Really?
Okay. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah,
What's
but you
worse?
do
I
show
don't know.
your anus to the world. That was one of her comebacks. She said, you do show your anus to the world. And, you know, I think I'd prefer 2 failed marriages.
Well, I mean, who hasn't at this point, eh? It seems everyone's done that. But Andy Serkis, so he is the actor who played Gollum in Lord of the Rings, and he's done lots of work since then. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up to you, Chris, is because we're just talking about the influence of Britain and all this, and British culture, for example, is literature, which you're very interested in. George Orwell, for example. Now, one of his best books is Animal Farm. And, you know, that's a close second to George Orwell's 1984, this Love in the Time of Nudie Mags.
Put your one
George
up, Packer. Mine's backwards.
Packer's cover looks a bit different in tone, yellow. It looks like a different yellow. Or maybe that's just the webcam.
Thank
Is there
you.
any different printing preferences here, or what?
Yeah, if you buy it from a bookshop or a library, it's slightly different, but you'd need to study it. But the contents is brilliant. 68 reviews, 4.9, 5 stars.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well done.
2 number ones, four top 100 bestsellers. Please buy it.
Because I've developed an app that blocks out every time you plug your book.
Dan, I know Andy Serkis. He played Gollum. Yeah, I see him talking about something the other day. I think what you're about to say might be connected.
Right. Well, it just came to me now because we were talking about a film this stream, and he's made a remake of Animal Farm. He's adapted the novel into a new film, but in pure modern leftist retardation fashion. It's not about communism anymore. It's about capitalism.
It's an anti-capitalist movie, yeah.
So the pigs start wearing Gucci tracksuits and driving Lamborghinis and all this kind of shit. Yeah. So maybe we should for a stream we should watch this film and go through it, because I know you'd have fucking plenty to say about it, being an ex-Marxist and all. You would love it.
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd to take one of the most interesting ways of explaining the many problems of communism and one of the greatest works of literature of the 20th century and turn it into a movie about anti-capitalism. It's like, how have you done this? But I haven't seen it, but I know about all this. Well, I don't know about all of it, but I've heard about it. It's actually apparently a kids' movie. It was Animal Farm isn't a kids' book. It's not like, oh, look at the animals. Oh, I like horses. No. But apparently in the film, there's jokes for children, like the pigs sort of go, and stop farting, can you?
Yeah, it's like Adam Sandler level comedy, in Animal Farm.
Oh, Adam Sandler, I'll tell you about. Right. One of my heroes is a writer called, don't do this to me. He wrote Permanent Midnight and he wrote Perv, a love story. What's his fucking name? Anyway, I got hold of him and I said, listen, I've just released a novel. I'd like you to, it'd be an honour if you read it. Jerry Stahl, his name is. He used to write Moonlighting. Do you remember Moonlighting? With Bruce Willis? You might be a bit young.
Yeah, the TV show,
yeah. And he wrote Alf.
I don't know what
Alien Life Form, that weird. No. He was like a Hollywood, fully paid up screenwriter and junkie, and Permanent Midnight is that story. And then they made a movie of it. And hang on, I might have the wrong bloke. Who is the main bloke in? Sorry, it's fucking late here. What's that movie? What's that movie called? Zootropia or something?
That's an animated film about animals in a zoo, isn't it? I haven't seen it. Do
you mean Zoolander?
Yeah, Zoolander. Who's that actor?
Do you mean Zoolander, Chris?
Ben Stiller.
Yeah. Ben Stiller. So anyway, I hear they're making the movie about Permanent Midnight, and I'm thinking, amazing, one of my favourite books. And Ben Stiller plays the lead role. And I was just like, you're joking. It's not a comedy. Permanent Midnight is not a comedy. It's a harsh, brutal bit of writing about the reality of your life going down the pan rather rapidly. It's harsh. And it's shocking. It's shocking. Anyway, I get hold of Jerry Stahl. I spend my life getting blown out by people I need to talk to. I got hold of Jerry Stahl and he replied. And he said, I said, Jerry, I said, I've just released a book. I could do a bit of help, obviously. I'll buy you a copy, but I will need an address. I said, I'll send it to your agents or your office. He went, he got back to me, went, you're all right. He said, I always like to support, young writers. I thought, okay, young. He said, I'll buy it. He went, what's it called? And I told him. 5 minutes later, screenshot, he's bought it. He's blurred out his address, but he's bought it. And I was like, sweet. A couple of weeks later, he gets back to me and he goes, I suppose I owe you a blurb then. Right. He knows what game I'm playing. I want him to say something nice about it. Right. So I can just say it. I've got Will Self at the moment. Wait, Dan, do you remember that bloke who, Peter Lloyd? He took out Kate Smurthwaite. Oh, they were on Sky News and he went, it always goes to show the truth of the maxim. Whatever you say or whatever you do, you'll eventually upset a feminist. And
then she kicks off immediately.
I'm not coming back. It's one of the funniest clips. Well, he's an author. He's a journalist and author. He's a New York Times and Sunday Times best-selling author. Now, I don't have much time for all that. They're not even based on how many books you've sold. It's like who you know and all that. Nepotism. But I've done the same with him. I said to him, I'd like you to have a copy. I've had many engagements with Kate Smurthwaite, but I will need an address. He said, it's all right. He said, I'll buy that. He said, anyone who's had engagements with Smurthwaite. And then he tweets it. He tweets him holding it. He says, I thoroughly recommend this splendid novel. Amazing. So I've got Will Self on the cover. I've got Peter Lloyd. They're in the blurb on my Amazon page. And now I've got Jerry Stahl. And I haven't got a footprint in America. My sales in America have been terrible. And so he gets back to me. He says, I suppose I owe you a blurb. And I write back and I say, well, that weren't what I wanted.
Nice.
It was. But it was also nice to talk to Jerry Stahl. I said, but if there's one on offer, and he gets back to me, he said, I've only read the first few pages, he said, but I loved it. I'll get back to you. And then he doesn't. I don't want to hassle him. And then I write to him, I said, did you ever get around to finishing that book? And he's like, what book's that? And I said, Love in the Time of Nudie Mags. He went, what, you want me to buy it?
Oh, fucking hell.
I'm like, if you have a look and if you go back, you'll see our messages. And he said, well, mine will delete. I said, well, you've already bought it. And then he got back to me and went, right, what's it called, this book? Oh, fucking hell. Now, I think he's Jerry Stahl, the author of Permanent Midnight. He's nearly 80. And I think he might be a bit losing his mind a little bit.
Well, he was just pissed.
No, he's properly clean. But the novel, I've got a new novel coming out in November. And to be honest, that's far more up his street than Love in the Time of Nudie Mags. Love in the Time of Nudie Mags is about a 14-year-old in the 80s. If you grew up in the 80s, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's cracking. Packer is cracking, isn't it? You've read it. Yeah.
And is this 14-year-old based on anyone we know, or is it just a fiction?
Yeah, it's autobiographical. It's me.
Yeah, I was saying that Yes, yeah, I knew.
yeah. But I just wanted people to know. Yeah. I'm so glad you said that.
So you got a
But
problem
this,
with Ben Stiller? What's your issue there? Sounds a bit
well,
anti-Semitic.
he's a comedy actor and he's pretty good at it. But
He's done some dramatic shit before. He's not great at it, but he's when Jim Carrey started doing serious stuff, people were like, "What's this?" But then he did the Truman Show, and everyone thought, "Oh, I guess he can." So maybe Ben Stiller will surprise you.
No, I've seen it. It's been out like 15 or 20 years.
Oh, right. Well,
it's
never mind.
Awful. I mean, because the novel has got. It means a lot to me because when I was reading those sorts of novels, I was like, you could have a bit of this if people can publish this stuff. So it's still nice to watch it go, oh yeah, that scene, and forget Ben Stiller and just the actual sort of pull back and reveals well written. But it's a bit of a shame, Weirdly, someone like Armie Hammer is the sort of person who could have done it. I also wrote to Ollie, what's his name? James Frey, who wrote A Million Little Pieces and who got he was on Oprah's book club. And when you're on Oprah's book club, that's it. He sold like 20 million copies worldwide, multi-millionaire. You're made, right?
This is the guy that you told me he got sabotaged completely because of the...
About a year later, Oprah got him back on, and about 2 seconds before he was going on live, the studio manager went, by the way, this isn't what you think it is. This is going to get rough out there for you. And James Frey's like, eh? She went, why did you lie to us, James? Why did you lie to the American people? And he's like, what? Well, in your novel, you said this happened, but we looked into it and it didn't. And he's like, yeah, but when, trying to explain the basics of writing to her, yeah, but sometimes structurally, what? And then the publishing industry just let him go. No one wanted anything to do with him. He's been self-published since then, and he said, I'll tell you what, best thing that ever happened to me. Wrote to him and said, do you want a copy of my novel? He said, I'll buy it. Done the same thing.
You've got all these connections. It's a bit...
Yeah, but through a lot of hard work and a lot of pushbacks, I do get people who just say fuck off or don't get back to me, and that it can be quite disheartening. But as I said on Substack the other day, failure I can deal with. I can cope with failure. Failing because I didn't put the effort in, that'll kill me. I've published 2 novels now. They've both done far better than I thought they would because I didn't have a big corporation and an old boys club and the publishing industry that's ruined literature over the last 50 years behind me. My first novel I wrote at 23 was sold over 9,000. It was stocked in Waterstones all up and down the country. This one's just done exceptionally well, thankfully. But the one I've got coming out in November, I've been writing for 10 years. That's the one that I might even fly over to England and do some live events. I've got to start getting them arranged, where people...
I thought you were going to do that for this one, but maybe you were talking about the...
I was, but then I thought, hang on a minute, it's fucking expensive to get to England. I haven't got a mother who's got an house there anymore. So I've got to do accommodation. I've got to do the flights. The flights from here to England are like $2,500 economy. Like what? So I just thought this has done well on its own. The next novel I care about more. I'm more proud of it. It's more literary. It's more. I do love in the Time of Nudie Mags, but I wrote it in 4 months. This other one's taken 10 years. So I just thought, also, just that title, having Will Self's name on the cover, does a lot of heavy lifting. Whereas this one won't have those endorsements. It won't have a title like that. So I think I'll spend my money and time and effort on the newer novel.
So getting back to my point about Andy Serkis,
Oh, Dan, when we finish a stream, me and Packer have a little debriefing, and I see Packer's eyes glaze over if ever I start talking about writing, because he knows that's a good 20 minutes before he even gets in and sort of, my dinner's ready.
Well,
Sorry.
the funny thing is, so I take the piss out of you all the time for plugging your writing and all that, and it's all fun,
It
but you
is.
still manage to spend at least half an hour of every stream doing it, and it's kind of like, wow, he's good at this. He's very good at this. And it just takes, and I blame myself because I went on a tangent about Andy Serkis and Animal Farm, which leads into literature, which leads into you. And I blame myself. And of course, you've paid the shill here, Parker, to hold up your book every time we mention anything to do with writing. So I apologize to the chat profusely. I'm so sorry.
Me and my chat, we do all right, man. They understand I've got to try and sell. I'm a full-time professional YouTuber and writer now. And I think they're fine. I mean, no one's complained except for you cheeky cunt.
I know.
Tell me about Andy Serkis. I don't even think you've got there yet.
No. My point was he made this ridiculous Animal Farm adaptation. Yeah. So it might be fun to watch it and talk about it. But maybe
okay, like a reaction video, a reaction stream.
Just I don't know if people will even care, but look, content is content, isn't it? And you said you're trying to grow your YouTube channel, and I'm always up for a chat about movies, and all this type of thing. But it does sound absolutely crazy on the surface of it.
What I'd probably suggest is doing a reaction to other people's reactions. So I'll find a load of reactions where they've already edited the interesting bits. Because a 2-hour stream of a whole movie, it'll probably get yeeted,
Yeah, of course.
Fair enough. That's something to think about. I just want to. Anglo's dropped another out and centre. Hoyt. Europeans are historically pagan, Chris. They are. Excuse me. We were converted by the sword to Christianity. How is that different to Islam? I don't care for Islam. The older I get, Christ calls me. Well, they were different times. I think you can't really judge an ideology. This goes on with a lot of things. I think like slavery. We want reparations. Your great grandfather had slaves. Yeah, but I didn't. So,
well, I want reparations from Denmark, from the Vikings, from my ancestors.
I keep thinking of doing one of those. What is it? 23andMe, those DNA tests. But so many people tell me I look like a 4B2. I don't want to risk it. Well, before it was broken, it was all right. Like that side don't look great, does it? But the unbroken side is very handsome.
The broken side is a bit Ben Stiller. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But that's we won't mention him again.
Did you ever see that video of that black woman? She said, I've sent my DNA off. I can't wait. I'm going to do a live reveal. And it's she's like streaming live. And she says, I can't wait to find out, the exact tribe, the exact country in Africa that I come from. She's got an afro, she's black as, and she opens it up and she's like, this is just so exciting. 90% European.
Yeah.
It's funny. She cries.
Yeah, and Philip Schofield was right all those years ago. Race is not just skin deep. It's about everything else.
There you go. I'm with you on that, Anglo, by the way, and I don't know whether it is an age thing. Andrew Wilson has certainly had an effect on me. I like that idea of Christian ethics. And he says he talks about Christian nationalism, but he avoids he said he says it a lot, but I saw the other day, he says he tries to avoid it because it's just bad marketing at this stage, Christian nationalism. But he says essentially that's what it is. And that if England were to have an eruption of Christianity, well, again, then you've got an ethical duty to look after your own. And when Mark Collette was on here a few weeks ago or a couple of months ago, that was his big point after his fucking 4 litres of Monster Energy drink. I tell you what, Dan, he come on here, he went, the first one was gone in a couple of minutes. Second one, I think I said about 3 sentences. It was like, turn him on, let him talk. 2 hours later, thanks for coming on, Mark. And he was like, it's been a pleasure. Ta-da. And he was like,
well, I'll tell you what, yeah. Red Bulls are expensive now, so he's got to switch down to Monster energy drinks.
He's moved to Monster. But he's fully aware of it, though. He says, I love it. He says, I can't stop. But he's got so much experience, knowledge. He was involved in all this back when the BNP got the Isle of Dogs and all that. He was their PR man. It's just great listening to him talk. But that was his thing. He said that lack of in-group preference, that lack of voting as a block, that lack of looking out for your kin, that sort of aspect of our character is what is the problem. Fix that, you start to fix the whole situation. And like what Anglo's saying there, I'm certainly being drawn more to some sort of spiritual. I mean, I got into spirituality when I was 35, just because in a rehab, because the bloke who run the place, who I really got on with, when he started talking about it, I was like, I don't want all this hippie shit. And he said, it's not. He said, it's just about you having a relationship with yourself where you don't cause yourself problems. He said, you're in a fucking rehab centre. He said, is it your 10th? I went, no, 7 or 8 by this point. He said, well, you'll probably do another 10. He said, that's the usual thing. He said, so he said, don't. And I start, in the NA 12 steps, like God's mentioned 5 times. And I used to be like, fuck all that, like some really weird. Essentially, what British culture has done to Christianity turned us off it. But there's one on there which is we took a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Sounds like nothing. Just sounds like, I think it's step 8 or 9, I don't know. But that changed my life. So taking a personal inventory basically is just, occasionally, some people do it every night with a notepad. Some people don't have a fixed, time, but occasionally you just think, right, how have I been behaving recently? How have I been to other people? Have I been a bullshitter? Have I been manipulative? Have I been controlling? And just taking a personal inventory, because I know that when I act like that, it ends up damaging me. Not like I do A, B happens, but I do A, almost unconsciously, I don't feel good about myself. And they build up those things. And the second part of it, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I never done that as a young man. If I was in the wrong, I'd die on that hill. Fuck you. Fuck you. What the fuck you? How fucking, don't call me anymore. Don't come round here, my best mate of 15 years, because we argued how many polos were left yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And so now I do that. I will have a little falling out with someone. And then afterwards, when I'm feeling a bit shitty and I'm blaming the weather or something, I'm like, no, it was because what you said to Ben. It was because what you said to him. He didn't. What you know, you were just trying to make him feel bad, and he did feel bad, and that's why you now feel bad, because he's done nothing but be your mate for years. And so I'll shaking, because it doesn't come naturally to me, nervous, which doesn't come naturally to me. I call him up on WhatsApp and I say, listen, and I don't beat around the bush. I used to. It takes a bit of a while to get good at it, apologising. I said, listen, that conversation we had, when I said that, you're right and I was wrong, and I just wanted to hurt you because to make me feel better, and I just wanted to let you know and apologise. And fuck me, the freedom. You feel it just come like after that phone call, and it doesn't always work. Some people say, "Well, I'm glad you think that," but fuck off, you're an arsehole. But I'm not then carrying it. You know, I'm not carrying. I've done all I can. I've apologised. I said I was in the wrong. What do you want me to do? Buy him an ice cream? You know, I'm an adult.
Well, I might have to apologise now because I have to go. I didn't want to just dive into that admission from you there, but it's been really good. Enjoyed the stream as always. Thank you to everyone watching, and hopefully we can do another one soon, Chris. But I do
show Dan some love in the chat, can you, people? That would be most appreciated. Thank you again for that one, Anglo. Interesting that you're hearing the call of Christ. I'm there. Don't go yet, Dan. Zeitgeist, fair play, on the firm, 65 months. He says Easter is more to do with harvest festivities than it is with the death of Christ. Yeah, they like Christmas. They've sort of all, you know, but again, in a culture war, I think it's good to keep hold of territory. That would be my point. But fair play for the support for 65 months, mate. Much appreciated. Dan, it's always a pleasure having you on here. Bricks and Minifigs, probably Coffeezilla. You're going to love it.
I'll look at that tomorrow for sure. All right.
All right, mate. Yeah, you
Cheers,
look after
boys.
yourself.
See you later.
Take care.
Cheers, Sam.
Ta-da. My background's going to go funny now. Oh, that's not the background going funny. That's my sin leaving my body because of what we've been talking about. Packer, are you going to likely watch that movie?
Yes. Yeah, no doubt I will, yeah.
I've sent you a link. You might need a VPN. If anyone wants to watch
it's on X, I think, as well, apparently. Someone said in the chat.
John Palmer said, he said that Elon put the whole thing on X. Amazing. It's banned. No, it isn't. What are Germany going to do now? Ban X?
Yeah.
Right, hang on. We've had something else come through. Anglo. Jesus, Anglo. Hoita! I had something interesting to say. I've had a few beers. That's all right. I've forgotten. So you know, pros and cons with drinking, innit? So I'll say, great stream and new. You can have new shoes, of course you can. I'll sort that out right now. Yeah, I'll do it right now. Thank you, Angelo. Appreciated. You're keeping me and my missus fed at the moment. He jokes. He jests. Starving. Right. People, if you haven't watched that Citizen Vigilante, where is it? Apparently it's on X, but if you can't find it, I can send you a link for free. Email me, chris@chrisdangerfield.com, and I'll send you the link. You might need a VPN if you're in England and some kind of metal cover around your house, and I don't know, just make sure you got a bulletproof jacket on or something. I don't quite know how it works out there, but it has been a very pleasurable stream. If anyone's got any questions they want to fire, we've now done 2.5 hours. You know what? It's 2:30 in the morning here. I doubt there's any chance of waking my missus up. She was shittered. I will be putting your messages on the screen as the music plays out. If you want to donate while I'm doing that, you can. If you want to read my novel, Give it a go. If you grew up in the 80s, it's a cracking novel. You don't get 4 top 100 bestsellers on Amazon for something shit. If I thought it was shit, I wouldn't shill it, because I'd be like embarrassed that people would come on here and go, I read your book, it was shit. I'd be like, oh dear. You know, it's funny, it's tender, there's a lot of nostalgia in there. And if you're a working class teenager in the 80s, I think you'll identify with a lot of stuff in there. Right, where are we going? Anglo said, East European rent boys is not. What's that? Have I missed part of a stream? A conversation, I mean. But without knowing much about it, I'm going to agree with you there. Right, Packer, I'm going to let you go. Show Packer some love in the chat, can you, people, as you already are, which is so lovely. Absolutely lovely. And I'll play some music. I'll let you go, Packer. I'll see you in a minute, eh? I don't know where that intonation come from. I'll see you in a minute, eh? What's he doing? I don't know what he's doing. What's he doing? Does he think he's not on the screen? Can you hear me, Packer? This is very bizarre. Maybe he's turned his camera off. Yeah, well, that's the truth of the not full-size green screen I've got. I'll see you later. Here's some music from 90s drug rock, I think is fair enough to call it. Household. And this is dedicated to Anglo-Saxon. I'll get my boat off the screen. And I'll see you all on the next stream. Keep an eye out for it. And ta-ta.
I'm stupid, I'm lazy, but in the discotheque I still look crazy. Love me, baby, I only tell lies cause the truth escapes. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blues. I'm knackered, I'm fading, but in the right light I still look vaguely human. Happy it won't be long before we cave in. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blues. You can get the blues. Don't worry about my heroin addiction, it's only slight. I need you, love me, and I'll feel the same again tonight. Summertime, we can get new shoes. I'll have brown and you can get the blues. You can
Yeah,
get
I thought
the
it was yeah.
You can get the blues. You can get the blues.
And there you go. Oh, I thought doing that would. Hang on. There you go. Well done, Baz. Fair play. Yeah, one at a time. You know that. It's all right if you can control it, but you obviously wanted to stop, and you did. So fair play. Fair play. Not easy. There was a few other comments. I quite like that one from Nigel. I like, who was it who said, "Good to see you, Zeitgeist." Yeah, I wanted to reply to you. I do talk to it on the offensive, but he's moved, and the phone number I've got, he doesn't like me telling people he wants to be off the radar, and that's his choice, and I respect that. But I do still talk to him. He came on here once. I had Dan on, and I said to Hugh, I said, it'd be fucking funny if you turned up. And he said, all right, I will. And then last minute, he said, I ain't up for it. And he double bluffed me while me and Dan were talking, because I'd already sent him the link. He popped up absolutely shit-faced, as per usual, as every free I don't know if you know this, but when we used to do the Three Stooges, me, Dan, and Hugh, we'd talk a little bit before the stream, and Hugh would just be like, "Hi guys, I might need a little bit of looking after tonight. I've had a couple." Oh, that one hit me a bit hard. Too good. Packer, thanks for that, man. Amazing. Yeah, that's it. There was another one. Someone said something that tickled me. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Ah, bollocks! It's just flown off. Someone said I've read the first 50 pages of your novel. It was funnier than I thought it would be. It's a funny comment because it's funny. It's just funnier than I thought it would be. Suggesting, I'm looking at this in the most negative light possible, suggesting, one, you didn't think it would be funny. Two, it's funnier than you thought it would be. It's like, there's different ways of looking at that, but thanks for giving it a punt anyway. And after those first 50 pages, that's when it really kicks into gear and you'll see some story arcs forming. That was originally a short and I just didn't stop writing. Rollo's on the firm. He says there are about 5 gorgeous churches for sale. For sale. They'll be bought. They'll be mosques. Well, I didn't even read the last bit of your message, and I said that. That's what happened. They've got to be targets for other religions. That's how it's always been. Yep, I think that's a fair comment. I'm still streaming. Good Lord, it's 2:45. People, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll catch up soon. Thanks for everyone who donated. Thanks for everyone who comes to these streams. Thanks for everyone who gets busy in the chat. If you donated on the other platform, you'll get your video probably tomorrow because I'm going to go to bed as soon as this stream's finished. And bless you all. Look out for yourselves and don't forget to tell the people you love that you love them, because we do tend to forget. And they need to hear it, especially if it's true. Ta-da!